Good afternoon, everybody. This is Corey Rosen with the Story Podcast. Today, I have on a special guest, but before that, I'm going to go into some merchandise. If you would like to have some merchandise, we have stickers here. The Story Podcast stickers. They're really cool. They're vinyl. They can go on your cars. They can go on your laptops. They can go anywhere you put your stickers. We also have hoodies that will have that logo on the front and the first 50 guests on the back. You can pre-order those now. You can message me at on Facebook or Instagram, wherever you are following me. You can ask me there, and we'll figure it out. Today, I have on an awesome dude, Mr. Justin Fava. Mr. Justin Fava has been an active member of the Berks County music community for over a decade as a multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, and producer. He has spent his former years honing his talents with various musical groups such as Colour and Codeine, Hillside, and Kill the Broadcast. He was also featured on several EP and album releases, including Chronicles by 6 Years Later, If I Die Tomorrow by Colour and Codeine, and We Give Up, My Dear by Hillside. You can find Justin on his Facebook page, Justin Fava Music. Mr. Justin, how are you doing today?
Dude, I am doing so well. So happy to be here today with you today, Corey. Thanks for having me, man.
I'm really excited. I first met you at Talus, right?
Yes.
And that was incredible. So tell me, what got you inspired to do music in general? Was your dad play music, or was it a specific album? What was a hand-me-down guitar that he was like, all right, play this?
It's funny because in my family, there's not actually a ton of musical talent. I think my mom might have won some kind of contest when she was younger for a performance, but I think it might have been, I don't know if it was lip sync or not. I don't know the full story for it, but I don't come from a family of performers really, or musicians for that matter. I was kind of the first one to really, I guess, have that itch and that desire and that ear. But ever since I was a kid, I remember dancing around in my living room with my boombox to In Sync and right. 90s pop music when I was a kid. And then as I got older, my uncle actually gave me a guitar. I'll never forget. It's an Ibanez Roadstar Series 2. It was a kind of it was like a teal blue kind of color. It was super cool. I love that guitar. And so he gave me that guitar and an amplifier and was just like, here you go, man. Have some fun. So
that's wild.
Yeah, I spent a really long time trying to teach myself how to play guitar, hours and hours and hours just playing. I'll never forget if you've ever heard the song Good Riddance, Time of Your Life by Green Day. That intro, bum. I just spent hours trying to get that down, and then trying to get that down and sing at the same time. And I'll never forget the moment that I had that breakthrough moment of wow, I can finally sort of do this at the same time, and it doesn't sound like a total train wreck, where you make some progress. So, but really my interest for music just came from my curiosity and the way instruments worked, and also too, just in school, I was really active in the Boyertown music programs all throughout elementary school, junior high, and high school. So I had a lot of really great people in my life to help me to discover what music really was all about, and the joy of music and the joy of performing. So that's kind of the origin story, right? I could talk about it for hours and hours and hours, but really, I mean, it was just that combo of just being in my blood and school and just being around the right people. I actually, a quick little story, I actually was not even going to sing in junior high school because I thought it wasn't cool.
Really?
Yeah, man. I had this friend in junior high school, and I'll never forget, his name was Craig, and we used to just do choir together. And I really wanted to do comedy acting club. We could do different electives in school, and I thought comedy acting club would be so cool.
Right.
And my friend Craig was like, "Well, I think I'm gonna try out for show choir." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. Isn't that kind of not cool?" And he was like, no, man, he's like, singing's fine. You can do it. I'm like, okay, sweet. So then we both did it. But if it wasn't for him, I probably never would have even sang in like past elementary school.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank you, Craig, wherever you are, man. Thank you.
So what got you inspired to, at what point did you start writing your own things?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I probably have been writing my own music my entire life without actually realizing it.
Right.
So I had I've always been the type like a creative type. So I've always just naturally been able to come up with my own tunes, like when it comes to stories and like, you know, just things like that. I've always been like very creative in that regard. And so it just kind of made sense when I started understanding how music was written and how to compose music and how like chords work, you know, in tandem with each other. You know, and intervals and things like that. I started to put all of that together, and really all that creativeness that lives within my brain now has an outlet.
Right.
But that outlet now has like meaning, and it has like a formula that I can understand, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So did you ever like take lessons, or was that just self-taught?
Well, writing music, I never really took lessons writing music. I did, however, take voice lessons for a number of years from my wonderful voice teacher, Miss Tammy Black. She was fantastic for years and years, and then I took some lessons from a gentleman by the name of Patrick Marquez. He was an opera singer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So is Tammy. Actually, they did a lot of classical singing, and that was like actually my roots come from like classical, like opera singing, Pavarotti, things like that. You know,
you got some good breast support then.
Yes, yeah, support, man. That's the. I mean, I guess that's really why I'm able to do a lot of this rock music for a long period of time. You know, without completely shredding my voice, because I have like a good foundation for singing.
Just running out of breath too.
Yeah, exactly, man. Even that, you know, just having that foundation to be able to support what I'm doing really helps. So at the time, I still liked it, but I was a little less appreciative, because I was like, well, I want to sing what I want to sing, you know.
Right.
But it was really good at the time to do what they wanted me to do, because it really gave me that proper foundation.
And not only that, but because I had the same kind of approach to whenever I did singing lessons. It was like, well, I don't want to sing this old English madrigal. That's what they're called.
Yeah.
I don't want to sing that. I want to, because it got melismas all over the place. It's like, this is hard, man.
Yeah.
I can barely do a riff. You want me to do a melisma?
Yeah, you're like, what? You're like, I don't even know what that means,
right?
Man. Like,
if you don't know what a melisma is, it's like a riff, but just really, really long.
Oh,
so
geez.
it's just notes after notes after notes, and you have to hit it all under one syllable.
Oh my
so it'd be
gosh.
like you all for like
I see what you mean.
few measures. It's basically what we would call a riff in pop culture. But melisma is like the classical term for that.
Wow.
And I can't hit individual notes. It's just a slide for me. So I understand why they wanted me to work on it. But it was also like, but this is hard. Because not only do you have to have the breath support, because you have to have the control of your voice. It is so hard to control your voice, because you can't feel what it's like. It's not a hands-on activity. It's something. It's organic, right?
Yeah.
It's not like a tactile thing that you can touch.
Yeah, there's a lot of mental. It's mostly, like, to me, a mental game. When I'm singing, like, it's how can I stay as relaxed as possible to be able to focus on what I'm doing and be like in the moment, while I'm also like consciously thinking about entertaining an audience of people. Like, it's a very weird medium to, like, you know, to be in. Like, it's very strange.
You got to think about so many things when you're like singing too, because you know, there's your posture. There's where are you singing? Are you singing here? Are you singing in your chest voice, your throat? Where is that sound going?
Oh yeah.
And how am I opening my mouth large enough that it gets out in a good quality?
Oh yeah.
And especially that's where like all the vocal training comes in, and it's like, because you hear yourself, you don't hear what you sound like though.
Well, that's the thing that's interesting, right? Is that when you're performing, especially when you're performing rock music, like I'm performing, like there are times when you can't hear anything you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you're like, yeah, you're basically like singing, but you have no idea what it sounds like.
Right.
But I've worked a lot on trying to train myself to be able to hear like my own internal resonance. So that way, based on like how it feels, like I kind of understand like what the pitch is going to sound like out there. And it's something that takes, I think, a lot of practice.
Oh, for sure.
I've played so many gigs with stage monitors pointed at me that do absolutely nothing. that I over time, like I learned, like I would literally run into the bathroom and like stuff toilet paper in one of my ears, and it would like block off one of my ears so I could hear like what was going on
inside of you.
Yeah. You might notice some singers when they sing, like they do this.
They
it's
hold
like
their
to
ears.
hear themselves. Yeah. So that's something that I just like picked up how to do and like really honed in on it, because there are just so many situations where things don't go according to plan. And I just want to know, just like with the guitar, like if you're playing and you know, like, okay, I know where I'm at on the fretboard. It doesn't matter if I can hear or not. It feels better when I can hear it.
Right.
But that's okay. Like I still know what's going on. It's
Right.
kind of the same thing. Like it would feel better if I could hear it, but at the same time, it's not a huge deal if I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
So where did you go from there? Your singing training. Did you start writing songs or?
Yeah, actually, I kind of moved into things rather quickly. Like when I was in high school, I was in some bands, and we had a lot of fun. That was like my first experience with like playing music with a group of people like that. Not like in a choir, but in like a traditional like band setting, you know, that you think about. And right after that, I actually met my now wife at the time through a mutual friend, and it was like her younger brother's band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was like 18, and I think they were like 15 or something like that. And they had like a talent show or something. I can't remember what it was. It was like they had a talent or some kind of show, and they were like, they knew I could sing, and they were like, hey, will you come, like, will you go sing in my brother's band? And they're like, yeah, will you come sing? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not, right? Like, it was great. We were all friends, you know, I got to spend more time with the girl that I liked. Like, it was great, right?
Right.
And then, like, it just, like, clicked. Like, they were just some of the most talented, like, musicians I had the pleasure of playing with. It was so organic for them, and they were writing like really cool stuff for their age too. Like I could feel it. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And they had a band, and it was called No Regrets. That was like our first band. So it's funny when like we with that name, just because like it's so generic and so like kid like, but that was like how we started, man. We had that band No Regrets. We were playing like metal. It was like just like heavy metal. And the first show we played, actually, now that I remember it, the first show we played out was at the Trocadero. We played with a few other bands that night, and it was crazy. Like, it was the upstairs Trocadero, so it's like a smaller side room, because they have like they had multiple stages there, and the main stage was downstairs, and they had this bigger stage that was kind of like upstairs in like a loft-looking area, I think, if my memory serves me correctly. And the stage was very small. It was like side stage, and we just packed it, man. We packed it with just like a bunch of like, like high school grads, and like early college students, man.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was so much fun. But yeah, from there, that band sort of grew and evolved, and then we grew into Colour and Codeine at a later point in time. We were like taking the music thing a little more seriously, and we were having some cool opportunities, and we just kind of thought that the name didn't really make a lot of sense for us anymore. The music was different. It was different, right? We went from playing metal music to moving more into like pop punk style music.
Okay.
And that's when we came up with the name change. And we actually, with that band, we actually had the pleasure of like playing on Warped Tour one year, which was really fun.
Oh, wow.
Like we had like a bunch of cool opportunities with that group, recording opportunities where we recorded the EP, If I Die Tomorrow, which that music was just a whole point in my life where it's like that point in your life where like you're not really sure what your purpose is and you're not really sure where you're going. So you just like all you have are just the experiences like in your moments, like in your life, you know? Like it's when you're not quite old enough to have wisdom, but not quite young enough to be like inexperienced. It's sort of like that weird middle ground that we walk in from the ages of like 18 to like probably 26, you know?
Right.
So that was a really cool point in time. And yeah, dude, then from there, like I would say I jumped right into writing music with Hillside. And I jumped in, that my friend at the time was writing a lot of music, needed a singer. I was like, yeah, let's collab and see what's going on. And then all of a sudden, I just like get the call, like, all right, let's come to the studio, let's start writing. It was like right in Phoenixville, in like some dude's basement, and we just started recording. And that's actually my good friend Glenn Hollenbach that I play with right now to this day. That's actually where I ran into him. Now, I'd known him for years, playing music in different bands together, but that was the first time we actually like sat down and like had to work on some music together. And I'm glad I met him that night, because that was like definitely one of those moments where like something changes in your life, you know?
So were all those bands you just singing, or was that also guitar?
So in No Regrets, I was just a vocalist. In Colour and Codeine, I was a vocalist, and sometimes I would play bass. We never really had like a defined bass guitarist in that band. It just kind of like people would show up and play bass for us. It was really kind of odd. But it was cool because like every bass player that we had come in sort of had like a different feel.
Right.
So it was cool for the music, energy wise. And then in Hillside, I actually sang and I played bass guitar. With Hillside, we actually like that band was pretty cool. Like we had just like a really different sound. It was kind of like not mainstream at all. Yeah, it was super not mainstream. But it had a lot of really cool like guitar riffs. Like it had a lot of really cool vocal moments, a ton of like keyboards and like ethereal sounds. Yeah, it was really sweet. The drums were just like really, really well done. All in all, man, just like a really cool record. I think it's still on Spotify. If you look up Hillside, We Give Up My Dear on Spotify, and I think maybe on YouTube and stuff too, you can still pull that music up and check it out. Let me know what you think.
Yeah. So what is it like to come together and to create a project with people that maybe you have just heard of or whatever? Because you said that your first band, you kind of knew them, but you didn't really know them.
Yeah. So it's interesting because when it comes to like writing music, and I've written music with a lot of different people over the years, and it's like, to me, I've always found like either it works or it doesn't, you know? So like people will come in and like, if they come in and they have a really cool idea and like everybody can hear that it's a cool idea and it is a cool idea, then it just happens. I've never really felt like I've had to work that hard to like compose music because it's just happening 24/7. Like even just like when you like speak and when you like hear noises and things like that, like all of those things to me have like a pitch. And so like sometimes those pitches will like inspire ideas for me that I just like never had, like randomly. Like the other day I wrote a guitar riff that was based off of like my door shutting in like a weird pattern. Yeah, it was like da-ga. Like the way it was like da-ga, like that, like sort of off. It kind of inspired like a cool, like grungy, like sort of guitar pattern that I just came up with in a song that I'm currently writing.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's just everything kind of inspires music around me. And so to get back to the main question, which was about writing and what it's like, man, I've just found that when you have the right people, it's the the most fulfilling experience you can possibly have. It's just like everything makes sense, everything falls into place, everything feels so perfect and so right. You ever had a moment in your life that's just like perfect? Like having the right musicians in the room playing music can like replicate that feeling for you. And I think that's why a lot of musicians continue to write with their friends and stuff, because that feeling of like that feeling of just like coming together with a bunch of people and creating something powerful is really awesome. It's addicting.
Right. So what was the writing process for you guys? Was it mainly one writer, one composer, or did you guys, everyone can pitch in, or?
Yeah, so typically what would happen would vary from band to band.
Right.
So for example, in No Regrets and Colour and Codeine, it was those guys would, because I was working a lot, those guys would come up with a bunch of ideas and they had more free time, so they would just get together and they would like hash them out, and then they'd be like, yo dude, I have a new song, can you come write for it? And I would literally just, it was so cool, man. They had this really big basement. It was my friend Tyler's house, man. Shout out Tyler. Hi Tyler. Hi Paul. Hi Noah. Love you guys. They had this really big basement, and it had like this double door setup that would like open up into the music room that they had there, that we had all our amps and stuff set up in. And so what they would do is they had like this big couch, this big giant L couch. It was super comfy, man. I napped on that couch so many times. And like they would just open up the doors and just start playing on repeat, like whatever part of the song I needed them to play. So I'd say, all right, let's hit the introduction. Let's see what that sounds like. They'd hit it. All right, cool. That's sweet. I think I want to start here. Okay, so now I'm going to start here. I want you to play the verse. And like to them, like, and in musicianship in general, like, you know, your songs are composed of different parts, right? So you could think of patterns like A, B, C, which would be verse, pre-chorus, chorus, right? So stuff like that. So I would ask them like, what's the pattern? They would know what the pattern is. Cool. Let's do A. Let's just practice that. They would play the verse over and over and over and over and over again. And I would just sit on that couch and I would just write. I would write words. I would just write whatever felt right to me, whatever was like on my heart in that moment. And every single time what I wrote would amount to exactly what was needed for the song vocally. Every time. And I can't explain that. Like that's just something I can't explain. Like for whatever reason, their music would inspire something in me to like it would just come out, and that was it. And I found that like every single time I meet with people, that's what happens. Every single time I meet with another musician, that's what happens. It just feels so like almost like a weird like power that I shouldn't have, you know, like you know, like if an artist like sits down, they just draw something incredible, and you're like, how did you actually do that?
Right.
And they're like, honestly, like you know, just what I do. It's like the same thing. Like I just can't explain it, but like you hear it, and it's like
it's there.
It's there, man.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how even sometimes like on stage, I'll be playing with a few musicians, or it's mainly when it's only me and a drummer, because granted I can't do a lot when there's a big band, because then I have to tell everybody, okay, I'm going to this chord, or okay, this is the chord progression we're going to now.
Yeah.
Because I like to improvise. But when I'm with a drummer who is really good at keeping up with radical changes, I'm talking like style changes. Because I like to mess around with different style changes. Imagine going from like reggae jazz to, you know, metal. That'd be really freaking cool. But so whenever I get a really solid drummer who kind of understands what I'm trying to go for, with each stylistic change, it's the zone, and it just happens, and people are like, how'd you do that? I was like, I don't know, I know these chord progressions from these different styles, and I like to play them in cool ways.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't always need an explanation. Like music can just be, you know, like it can just
itself.
Yeah, like right, like I guess when I'm writing, when I'm playing, like all that stuff, like my brain's kind of off. It's not really something that I try to I'm trying to do. It's something that's just happening, that is doing, and it's a culmination, right? It's not like it's a culmination of years of doing this, right?
Yeah.
That I guess that gives me the confidence to be able to do it.
Right. The only way, and people are like, well, I want to do that. Well, people forget that we've done this for years.
Yeah, right.
There's been a lot of training that culminated in that moment.
You
have to. My glasses keep breaking.
That's okay. You don't need to see me anyway, you know.
But it's a lot of. If you want to be able to get so good to a point where you want to be able to do stuff on the spot, it's so much practice of years in the past and so much hours in the present.
Yes.
To keep practicing.
You are so right, man. Like it's a process. It's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
People want to have something for nothing, or they want to have something right away, but that's just not the way it works. Like that's with anything. Like sometimes you get lucky, you know, like there are times when people like don't put in the work, do something and get really lucky, and that's totally fine. But there are a lot of other people out there that spend years and years and years trying to perfect what they do, and then that moment never comes. But are those people any like less fulfilled than the other? Like that's probably not, because like at the end of the day, like what matters the most is if you're happy with what you're doing. Right. And a lot of people want to do music, they want to do entertainment, they want to do performing because they think it's like a one-way ticket to like making it.
It's like fame and money.
Yeah,
but it's so simple. They can do it. Why can't I?
Yeah, but it's like so far from the truth. Like again, like it happens and people get lucky, but like that shouldn't be your mission. That shouldn't be your purpose. Like your purpose should be so much bigger than just attention and things like that.
Right, and you got to realize the people that make it big, they knew other people.
Yeah, a lot of them do, or a lot of them. I mean, just think about it like this: like if you have like a huge influence and you have somebody like come on your podcast, like they're automatically going to get more attention than anybody else that might be doing this in their local community, because they have your influence, right? And it's sort of the same thing. Like, you know, the people with power can pick and choose what they want to do, but at the end of the day, like when it comes back to purpose, like that's why I try to do things with intention and purpose, right? You know, bigger purpose than just, you know.
And you're gonna find way more fulfillment when you have your purpose not be fame and glory,
right?
Because it's most likely not gonna happen.
Well, and that stuff. I mean, that stuff
it can also come when you have your other purposes.
It can, but that kind of stuff too, like, sort of tells a lot about your character. Right,
exactly.
Like that, those types of things, I think, say a lot about who you are as a person. Like, I think there are a lot of really genuine artists out there, and then there are a lot of people that just like fake it too.
Yes.
And that's like, it is what it is, right? How do you separate like the genuine ones from the fake ones? You just gotta like pay attention. Like, just go see them live, right? Like
go see it. Yeah, go see them when they're not doing their music.
Yeah.
See how they interact with other people.
Yeah, right. Sure. There's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are doing some really amazing stuff right now that nobody knows about. Mm-hmm. And like, it's okay. Like, it's okay, because at some point somebody will know what you're doing. It doesn't matter how many people, but at some point somebody will. You just have to stick with it. Keep doing it.
And if you really want to make a fan base, if that's like something you want to do, the best way to do it is by being authentic with yourself. Because if you're not authentic to yourself, you're gonna create a bunch of fans that don't know you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Your audience should feel like they understand who you are, even if they don't actually understand who you are.
Right.
Like,
they should feel like that they can come up to you and have a conversation comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I get both sides of the coin in terms of, like, you know, things like if you get like really big, like trying to give fans attention and things like that. Like, I've never had any problems like that at all. Like, you know, that's like, that would be like well beyond what I ever had in terms of, like, I usually have a show and then like I go talk to everybody, you know, like that's just what I do. Like, I'm really thankful that everybody's there. I'm really honored that people like want to show up and like watch me play music. Like like that's such a cool thing, right? Like somebody wants to come see what myself and like my other friends are doing musically to be entertained. Like they don't want to go home and watch Netflix. They don't want to like go play video games. Like they want to come watch us play, and that's really awesome, you know? And so I want to make sure that those people feel appreciated and understand that like I am so humbled and thankful for them to just be there at that moment. And at the end of the day, I think that sometimes people might not have the same objective in mind. You know, like sometimes people have other objectives in mind for music, and that's okay. But I think your true intentions will show at the end of the day, and your true character will be revealed to other people, and you can't hide that.
No, you can't fake your way, because eventually you're gonna get found out, and you're gonna get known about it.
I 100% agree.
And it's gonna fall apart.
It always does, man. It always does, man. It always does. Like, you know, you see it, like people do stuff and then years later, like a scandal comes out because they made a bad decision. And it's like, well, yeah, you made a bad decision. Like at some point that's going to come back to bite you, and you're going to have to take responsibility for that. And I think it's kind of tough when people are judging you, when people are like watching you. Like that's a hard thing, you know? So let's take all like the big heavy stuff out of it, and let's just move it to like performance, right?
Right.
Like people are watching you perform. That's kind of a daunting thing, right? Like it's no longer me sitting in my bedroom by myself playing my guitar and singing to myself. It's like I'm doing this to other people. And so like that's a scary thing, right?
It is
like,
a scary thing, yeah.
like you're very vulnerable in that moment, and learning to be calm when you're vulnerable, learning to channel anxiety into excitement. Those are all things that I've had to really teach myself over the years, because those feelings can be very confusing, and you don't want to be confused when you're up on stage.
No, and you're right, because you can harness your own energy and manipulate it into something better. Like, for example, I was Shrek in Shrek the Musical back in high school, and I have enormous stage fright. People wouldn't know it, but I do. And have you ever seen the musical Shrek?
I actually started watching it. It was on like Netflix or Hulu or something. I didn't finish it because I fell asleep, but it was pretty entertaining.
so you know the beginning act where it's a big bright beautiful world. In my high school, I was sat in the outhouse, and there's that big build up to before when Shrek just kicks the door open and starts jamming out, and I would use that nervous energy to like pump myself up so that way I could become quote unquote become a Shrek, and like bah!
Honestly, that's like exactly it, man. Like I realized recently, like this wasn't a revelation I had like years ago. This was something I had recently where I realized that my anxiety was actually like excitement. Like I'd get the pit in my stomach, and I'm like, oh gosh, I have to do this. Like this is gonna be like we're gonna be singing, like we're gonna be performing. I have to sing this high note, like whatever it might be, right? And then I slowly realized that like that's actually the same feeling I used to get the night before I'd go to like an amusement park with my family.
Or as you're going up the big hill on the coaster.
Yeah. Like anticipation.
Right, yeah.
That's what that is. It's anticipation, but it's not anticipation out of fear. It's anticipation. I can't talk.
Thrill.
Anticipation out of excitement, right? It's a thrill. I'm excited, but I didn't know that. I always thought it was nerves and anxiety and all that stuff. And just like coming to terms with things and trying to do self-discovery while being an artist has been like a whole other journey for me, because I feel like I've learned a lot about myself, a lot about what makes me tick, and a lot about some of like the misconceptions I had about myself for years. A lot of things that I thought I couldn't do, a lot of things I thought that I wasn't strong enough for, that I was just able to kind of pull through and do anyway, and rise to the occasion and push through it, man. Like writing all this music recently, like over the pandemic and stuff like that, was really tough because I had to like come to terms with a lot of feelings that I just kind of buried away, you know? And I guess sometimes when we're at our most vulnerable, we surprise ourselves the most.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
So is your songwriting more of stuff about you, or is it more? Because people write songs about it's either like themselves or they write a story and then they sing about that story. What is it for you?
You know what, man? It all depends. It all depends on what's on my heart, man. I have pages and pages and pages of lyrics that will never be used for anything.
All right.
But I've found that you can't purposely stifle your creativity. If you're being called to write, you need to write. It doesn't matter if it's just to like unblock something that's in your head. It doesn't matter if it's just to discover something about yourself, But I found that when I need music the most, when I need writing the most, it's always there for me, And so when I'm feeling certain ways and I'm not sure like how to process what's going on, I'm not sure like what the right solution should be, I turn to writing, I turn to music, because those are things that always seem to help me understand what's going on in a very hectic world.
It reminds me, there's this, I had a guest on, her name is Britt Drakowski, and she was talking about acting classes here at LBC, and one of the exercises they did was that everyone had a journal, and they would just spend like 30 minutes just writing, and it would be like no prompts, no nothing, it would just be, just start writing. You can't think, you're not allowed to think, just write.
Yeah.
And that, I haven't tried it yet, but I really want to, and just see what comes, because even she was like, I didn't know I had these thoughts.
Honestly, that's almost, I would almost equate that to like pulling the plug out of the drain, like when the water, like, right? Like when you're writing, sometimes our brains work a little bit faster than like our hands do, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so like we have thoughts that we're trying to articulate, but like we move and we think so quickly that it moves on, and then we forget what we were trying to say. And so what I found happens in that same regard is like when you just write, like eventually like the full story will come out in one form or another. Like when I write like that, and I just start writing like whatever my internal voice is saying. So it's like,
oh, you have an internal monologue?
Oh yes, very much so. I have internal monologue and like internal pitch and stuff. So I like,
that's cool.
Yeah, like if I like have an idea for a song, like I can kind of like conceptualize that whole thing in my head before it even like hits an instrument.
Oh, so you have it's called audiation.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, like the technical term. It's called audiation, where you can hear a pitch inside your head before you do it, and then you can like produce that pitch.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. And did you know that some people don't have that?
I didn't. I knew that some people didn't have like didn't have the ability to like hear their internal monologue, but I guess I didn't know about the pitch though. Or I guess they're one and the same, right? Really? So I guess I did
one
know
and the
that.
same, yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of crazy, because to me, like my internal voice is like it's like what keeps me sane. Right. Yeah, like I
if
literally.
It was quiet.
Yeah, what would I do?
I'd be scared.
Yeah, like it'd be just like a deep, dark, like black hole in my brain, and I couldn't imagine that. Like that I think is a big reason why like my creativity exists in the first place. It's not any different than like my normal like self. It's not like an alter ego or anything like that. It's just like, for some reason, when I close my lips, I can still hear my voice in my head. Yeah. Like it's just
there. I mean, and honestly, if I didn't have that, I don't know what I would be doing with myself, because there are so many unresolved conflicts in my head that if I hadn't had an inner monologue to resolve that conflict, I would have to say it out loud. Yeah. And then people would think I'd be nuts. Man.
Yeah. People would think you're crazy, dude. It's like, but that's how we process things. Like, we process things in deep thought. It's an important thing. I think that having that internal voice aids us in problem solving, because it's almost like your ability to like have a conversation with yourself to try to determine what the outcomes might be.
I always argue with myself, and I'm always right.
And I'm always right. That's classic.
Right,
I like that.
Because you can't be wrong with yourself. One of yourselves is winning.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's definitely something that like I'm happy that it exists, and I'm happy that I understand how it works and how it can aid me in processing my feelings and writing things down and coming up with things as a creative. Yeah, I guess like who you had on last time was spot on, man. Like that exercise, definitely do that. If you're a creative type and you feel like you get writer's block a lot, it's a great exercise.
And even if you're just feeling anxious,
Yeah.
and you don't know why, that'll spill it out right there.
Oh yeah, man, totally. Actually, that's a really good point. Like, I'm sure you've had experiences with that where.
Oh yeah, when I'm just like anxious for literally no reason of my own thinking, I'm like, I don't know why I'm upset, but I'm upset.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, and this is really scary. But I'm sure if I had just done that exercise, I would have figured it out.
Yeah, honestly, like sometimes you have to just let it flow.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to just do it. Like when I'm practicing a really high note that I have like trouble singing, like I just do it like over and over and over again until I get it. And like that requires adjustments, that requires changes in pressure, that it requires like posture changes. It requires, sound,
subtle
very subtle changes. But like the difference between an ah and an eh can be all the difference,
Oh my gosh, dude, don't even get me started on like the ahs and then the what are they called? Diphthongs or diphthongs, where there's two syllables in one sound.
Yeah.
Like I.
Yeah.
Where there's the ah and the e.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
It's all like I found that like certain notes within my register will be easier to hit on certain mouth shapes, and so I'll just try my best to like practice the mouth shape, because when you're in the moment and you're just doing it, like you're gonna just default to whatever sound feels right.
Right.
But that's not always like the right answer,
If anyone's ever curious to how your mouth works, I think it's called Pink Trumpet or Pink Trombone, a website. It's just literally your it's the mouth orifice thing, and you can manipulate it and figure out, if I put my tongue down like this. It's been used for speech therapy as well to like dictate. It shows how to work a mouth in the way that shows people how they speak and all that stuff. I'm trying to find.
It was right above there, actually. I think you scrolled past it. It was like a college thing.
But it's really cool. It's a really cool website. I'm gonna try and find it. But I think it's Pink Trombone. Yeah,
that is cool.
Yeah, so you can see your oral cavity, soft palate, nasal cavity. It gives you a voice box control, and you can make different sounds with it. It's really interesting and really, really funny to play with, because you just suddenly hear like, all the sounds you can make with your and people are like, what are you doing over there?
They're probably so confused, right?
Right.
But it is a science, like
my gosh, yeah.
There's like people out there that just study this. Like one of my friends is literally, he's like a professor at like a university, just like as a vocal professor. Like he like dives into like the makeup of your voice and like how it works and like what happens when you damage it and things like that. And it's just really, really interesting. Like what all goes into it,
Have you ever seen a video of the vocal flaps being used?
I have.
Oh, it's disgusting.
It's super wild, isn't it?
Wild.
I've seen a bunch of videos on that stuff, and it's definitely mind-blowing when you see
it moving up and down. It's like, how does it not hurt?
Yeah, right, because it's all like
yeah, it's with such
wild.
Force too.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. That's why it's a full body workout, man. Singing's no joke, man.
No, singing is no joke. If you want to work up stamina, sing and run. Try it.
Oh gosh, yeah, man. Treadmill work, dude. That's tough, man. I heard that like Kanye or P. Diddy used to do that. He used to like rap or sing while he would run on the treadmill like really fast.
That would make a lot of sense because especially if you want to build up breath control.
Yeah, man.
And like have the full breath for that entire verse or line that you're trying to say. I wouldn't be surprised if Eminem did that to Rap God or something.
Dude. That was kind of wild.
Yeah, right. It's like I can't even begin to start pronouncing all those syllables so fast.
Yeah, no. Every time I try, I just get tongue tied.
Yep.
Rap's not my game. I'm not very good at rap.
Right.
I do like occasionally like Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park. Like I'll do some of his stuff if I cover one of his songs. But usually I try to stay away from that. I try to stay in my lane, man. You know, like I'm a rock singer. I'll try to stick to rock music. You know.
Yeah. So we're nearing our end of radio time, and we really haven't gotten down into your deep stuff yet.
Yeah. Wow. What the heck?
But I do want to highlight one of your new pieces that you had created. It's called "Take a Hike."
Yeah, man.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, dude. So "Take a Hike" actually. It was a song that I wrote when I had like a really difficult time with somebody in my life. Like essentially, we had a fight, like a blow up fight, and I just kind of realized that like everything that was going on like wasn't my fault, you know, like and it wasn't something that like I caused. Like as a matter of fact, it was a result of me being like too nice. It was a result of me being too generous. Yeah. And so I basically wrote that song to kindly tell them to take a hike. Like, and I know it's funny, like the way the song's written is basically, it's about the altercation. It's about like constantly being put down by people that are like meaningful to you. Being put down by people that are close to you, that like you love. And you kind of, at some point, like, the dog's been kicked too many times.
Right.
And at some point, and me being a nice guy, I guess, right? Like me being a nice person, when I wrote the song, I was just like, and the chorus, I don't mind telling you kindly to take a hike. You're not my type. Like I'm not going to tell you to like, in a mean way or anything like that. I'm going to politely tell you to take a hike, man. And so I think there's a lot of people out there that exist like this. I think there are a lot of people out there that have people in their lives that they love and they care about, but that they just like are getting bullied by, and
right.
and so those people, like, you have to stand up for yourself. But at the end of the song, the whole song kind of changes, and it jumps into more of like what you're actually feeling in those moments, right? Where like, even though you want to tell that person to go away, like you still love that person,
right?
It's a very complex.
It almost reminds me of a relationship I had where we like a intimate relationship, but it was just not working.
Yeah.
And you still want to be friends, but that friendship hurts to
Yeah.
have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Because you've had all those past experiences.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to say, hey, listen, I love you, but we can't talk anymore.
Yeah, sometimes, there are people in your life that will unconditionally love you to an extent.
Right. Yeah, there's also that.
Yeah, and so it's just a matter of like it's a matter of standing up for yourself, but also like doing what's right. If you feel that you're being treated unfairly, you shouldn't feel afraid to hurt somebody's feelings by saying that you're hurting, that you're like what you're doing is detrimental to.
Right, you got to respect yourself.
Yeah, right. You need to have self-respect and
self-boundaries.
And that's some boundaries, and that sort of stuff is still something that I'm working on. I mean, I'm 31 and I'm still working on it. Like
that's a thing that's always going to be changing too.
Yeah, like I'd give you the shirt off my back if you needed it. Like that's just kind of the way I've always been. And I'm starting to realize that like even though that's like nice and that's good, like people will take advantage of that and you'll get hurt. Yeah. And so you have to just be careful. And I think with Take a Hike, like that sort of sums a lot of that up in that song. It sums up a lot of like the anger and and disappointment and sadness that you feel while it's going on. But then at the end of the day, whether you decide to make up with that person or not, there is peace and serenity that can come from that. Right? Like
yeah.
whether, no matter which way it goes, you can find peace in it all. You just need to do it though. Like you have to stand up for yourself.
With the example I gave, it gave me more anxiety because I do want to be friends with this person, but it gives me more anxiety to do that than just say, listen, we got to be done.
Yeah, man.
And we got to leave each other alone.
Yeah, exactly. Like exactly. You have to, sometimes you have to put your foot down.
Right.
And so that's really what Take a Hike was about, man. It was something I wrote really fast and happened really quickly, but sometimes the best song ideas are written when you're like going through it, man.
Oh, absolutely. With all that said, this is Take a Hike by Mr. Justin Fava.
You'd never understand
And that was Take a Hike by Mr. Justin Fava. So, how did you write that? Like, did you get a band together and then record that, or was that all? How'd you do it?
Yeah, so I actually like had the idea, and like it happened really late at night. And I remember I had just my MacBook Pro. I was using like Logic, and then I used a Blue Yeti microphone, just like a USB mic, and I actually wrote the whole song on an acoustic guitar.
So how did it get to that version then?
Yeah, so what's funny is like I wrote the song, like all those parts and everything, like just with an acoustic guitar. And then after I had that rough version down, then I went to my home studio like the next day, and I like just got to work, man, like programming drums, like writing, things like that, like trying to tighten things up. And then once I had a really good demo, I went to go see the guys at Atrium Audio over in Lidditz. So Atrium Audio, yeah, run by Grant McFarlane and Carson Slovak. They've worked with like some really big metal bands in the area, August Burns Red. They work with Rivers of Nile, like just a lot of like heavy artists, you know. But my friend that is in Rivers of Nile, Brody, he, like, I was talking to him and I was like, dude, like, do you think these guys would even like be interested in like doing my music? Because I'm like they record all these big bands, you know. And he's
who
like,
am I? Right?
Yeah, who am I, right? And he was like, yeah, I think they would. He's like, you should just like reach out to him. So I did, and then we talked on the phone. Like we got a date scheduled. It was like months later. It was like I called in like June, and I don't think we scheduled it until like almost October, like because they were really booked. And yeah, dude, I went in, and I went into this like studio, and we just like started laying down tracks, man. Like I gave him all the pre-production tracks I had, which was basically every song done to the best of my ability in my home studio. So like program drums, bass parts, vocal lines, like edits, everything, right? And then I went in with that complete idea, and then we just basically redid everything in their studio. And so from guitars to drums to vocals, like we just went to work. So what you're hearing is basically just like the composition of like a few of us, like just kind of like my friend Glenn Hollenbach, I love you, man. You're like a brother to me. I'm giving you a big shout out because you're the man. And it'll embarrass him too. Sorry, Glenn. But no, Glenn actually ripped that amazing solo in that song for Take a Hike. Yeah, man. He just like came in for a day, and like he tracked that solo. He tracked the solo in one of my other songs, Through This Storm. Like they were just really awesome solos. Like he's such a phenomenal guitar player. Like every time he plays, he blows my mind. And there's many people that feel that way about him. And so I had him come in, and he tracked some solos for me. He tracked like some secondary guitars too for me, I believe, like on some, because when you're trying to record 4 or 5 songs in 3 studio days by yourself, that's like a really big task.
Yes, it is.
So that's kind of what happened. Like that was the process. Like I did all the heavy lifting and writing on my own, and then I booked the time and went to the studio, and we just spent those days, and we just got down to it, man. And the guys that did the work there were fantastic. Like not only did they get like really like use amazing equipment and things like that, but they know how to like make you feel comfortable when you're in a studio. They know how to make you give your best performance. Like they were able to just like break down the barriers, man, and just like help me to do what I do best. And that was what I wanted, right? Like that's why I had to go to a studio to do this, because I it's too much to like do everything yourself. You know, like sometimes we need help. Sometimes we need people that are more talented than us, that have more experience in certain areas than us, to be able to like help us achieve our vision. But like, you know, a visionary like requires a team.
Oh, for sure.
You know, so but that was it, man. Like that, it's so funny because like the recording process seems like so mysterious, but like it's really just like a lot of like hard work and time.
It is. It really is. Yeah. A lot of meticulous hard work and a lot of time.
Yeah, man. And I feel super blessed and thankful for the opportunities that I've had Like, having known the right people to be able to get in contact with everyone to be able to make that happen was just so incredible.
So where can people find you and your music?
Yeah, so right now my music is actually just being released through local shows. So before I go on any streaming services and things like that, like I really want to make an effort to like be influential in the local music scene. Not because I like want anything out of it, right? But rather because I think that the best way to build a loyal fan base is by going out and playing shows and meeting people and entertaining them in person. You know, we live in like this society where everybody is entertained online. And I just think that like I'm tired of that. Like I'm physically tired of like looking at my phone and looking at screens. I'm just tired of it. I want to do something different. I want to do something that like that is unique. I want to do something that rewards people for like coming on this journey with me, you know, because there are people that have been following me for years in all these different bands, and it's like I want to do something more for them. You know what I mean? So I've been planning a bunch of shows coming up. We're going to be playing at Tellus 360 again. The date is August 6th. It's going to be 11:45 p.m. They actually have a festival going on that day.
That's right.
Yeah. So we're going to be playing there at night. We're going to be playing I think an hour set from 11:45 to like roughly about 1. So maybe an hour and 15 then. A little longer. But we're going to be playing there. We also have a show at Rivet in Pottstown. So Rivet, Canteen and Assembly, Frank and Harry and the guys over there, they do an amazing job with that venue. We're going to be playing an outdoor show, and that one's going to be in August. So we're going to have the event coming up soon. You can check it out on my Facebook page, facebook.com/JustinFavaMusic. And that's just the start, man. We got a Nitro show, Nitro Bar over in Reading. We're going to be playing. That one's going to be coming up, I believe, October 4th. It's a Thursday night. So we got 3 shows coming up that you guys can come check us out. And while you're there, if you like this song, come chat with me. Like I'll give you a free CD.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
With all that said, we're gonna go on to the Facebook Live portion, it's kind of been live the entire time, but we're gonna cut out the radio session because our hour is up. If you want to listen to more of Justin Fava and more about his personal music journey, that's what we're going to go into next. Yeah, please go to facebook.com/The Story Corey Rosen. That's CoryRosen. And you can also search that up on Spotify, The Story Corey Rosen, or whatever else streaming platforms you use. You'll find us. It'll be the red letters on the brick background. We also have stickers just to show you. Woo! And we got hoodies coming up, so be sure to message me about those if you're interested and have the first 50 guests on the back. With all of that said, I hope you guys on the radio have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Let's get you back to the music.
Sounds good.
All right. So
we're back on Facebook, but we never left Facebook.
We never left Facebook. All right, exactly.
But we're still here.
Oh, we're still here.
Yeah.
So, growing out, how did you go from being in the bands to growing kind of out of bands onto your own?
That is it's an easy answer with a lot of complicated feelings. The easy answer is that you learn very quickly who is like really committed and who's not, because you can only fake music so much. You can only fake wanting to be a musician so much. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean that very, very respectfully, that there are just some people that think that they want to be a musician and think they want to be a performer, but then when they get there, they realize that they actually don't. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But that's kind of how I branched out on my own, right? Was because I've been part of so many groups but like it's never been my own thing. And I don't need, it doesn't need to be about me, right? It doesn't need to be, you know, about myself. In fact, I really despise having my band name as my name, the Justin Fava Band, because I just, it feels wrong to me. Like I don't like all of that attention. But at the end of the day, I knew it was time for a change. Some of the projects I was working in would just like hit dead ends, man. Just like one after another after another. And it was like Glenn at the time was like, you know, dude, he's like, you just need to do a band where like everybody's cool, but like the buck just stops with you, man. Like everybody knows that, like, you know, you're like, I guess like you're calling the shots, right?
You're the leader.
Yeah, right. And like it's like a weird thing to think about, because to me, like I've always thought of music as like this mutual thing, and it is, but there in a band, like there is someone or some people that need to have a sense of vision. There is someone that needs to come up with the ideas, and there's nothing wrong with that. And
No.
I've started to like accept that, you know, like that's my role. Like I write music. I'm a creative. Like that's what I do. So there's nothing wrong with me having a band and just like having these guys come in and like write with me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
like that, it just feels it feels a lot better now than it did, because I felt less pressure to do what I thought other people expected me to do musically. And I felt more confident just doing what I felt was right, because I had a lot of time to sit with my own ideas before I brought it to anybody.
Right. So and with bands, you have to deal with people of all sorts and their feelings, their maybe egos and all that stuff.
Yeah, man.
So how do you manage all of that?
Oh man.
Not even to mention scheduling.
Well, I would say that egos in bands don't last very long, because if you have a big ego in a band, your band probably won't last too long, unless you guys are like really, really, really something.
Right.
Because I've just found that when that happens, like it impacts the music negatively. And, you know, when somebody always feels like they're losing, then nobody wins.
Right.
And so when I write music, I try my best to like bring the ideas and come with an open mind. Like if I feel the song should go a certain way and somebody else has like a better idea for it that they think is a better idea, I think we should try it and then see how they both sound. Because what that person has to add creatively is more valuable to me and to the music, I think, than what I can come up with sometimes. Sometimes that's not the case.
Right.
But when you're with the right people, it almost always works out. You know, like there may be things you go and you're like, oh, I don't like this take as much as this take, or that is. But in terms of like the general way that the song should go, when I'm with this group of guys, it's no question.
Right.
You know, it's like we just it happens. Like it feels right. And what I love the most about this group that I'm playing with now is that those guys take what I've done and do it their own way. They still like go within like the guidelines of like what I've written per se.
Right.
But they put their own spin on it. They do their own stuff that
improv.
It just gives it energy that you can't get on a track. You know, like you can't. It gives it energy that like it can't explain. You know?
It's I compose music as well, and so it's one thing where I can play piano and play the bass part and do the singing and add whatever else instrument I want to it, but that's all me.
Yeah.
And someone else is gonna add bass completely different. They're gonna do a different pattern. They might do arpeggiation. They might do what's that called? Shoot. I'm struggling with all my composition
That's
terms.
okay.
But like they'll do different roots or different intervals on inversions
of chords,
and chords and stuff like that, or they'll do different like rhythms and stuff that you first off you might not have thought of, but more importantly stuff that you can't do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's stuff you've never done before, or maybe you don't know the bass that well.
Yeah.
So it is really cool to be able to experiment on a piece with other musicians that know or have a different musical background than you, because then it opens the door to a much better piece.
Yeah.
Overall.
Oh, 100%. Like what I can conceptualize in a song is that just that. It's only what I can do by myself. But
Right.
when you have a lot like other talented people that come in and add their voice to it, when they add their creativity to it, it brings it to another level. What I've found is that I try my best to inspire creativity from others through what I write. So instead of writing a song and saying this is the way the song goes, I try to write the song and then say, okay, what do you guys feel? Like, where do we want to go from here, right? Sometimes when I write with people, I won't even come with a complete idea. Like, I'll just go with like a riff, and it'll be like, where do you want to take this? You know, where do you want to go with this now? Where are you feeling we can go with this? Because when it comes to like musical knowledge, like to me, it's more like natural talent and ear training. It's not like book smarts and musical theory, because it doesn't exist for me. I'm not classically trained in terms of like reading music and things like that. Can I kind of do it? Yeah. But like only what I learned in school, like in high school years ago. That was it, you know? So writing music, I think, is a different experience for everybody. But when it's happening and it's happening the right way with the right people, you know exactly when it is, because you just feel it. You get that feeling that's just a feeling you cannot get doing anything else.
So what is it like to set up goals for yourself as a band and pushing yourself, how like to launch yourself as a local musician in the scene? What are some of your goals? What are some of the things you have to do in order to become a self-sufficient musician? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but you do this full time now, right?
So I do this, like, it's like my side gig,
Okay.
but like I think I am very blessed in the fact that I'm like able to be like a professional paid musician. Like that's like a goal I've been working towards for a lot of years. I would say that like right now, like I work part-time, right?
Right.
And then I have gigs like pretty much almost every weekend, right? So it's like one of those things where like I need a job that's flexible enough that when I have gigs that are scheduled out, like I can't work, you know? So thankfully I was able to find some employment that was flexible with my work. So now all my gigs that are scheduled, like I don't really have to be so concerned and stressed about like being able to make the gigs and things like that, because my employer's cool with it. So but I did that because that was like a sacrifice I had to make. You know, like I've been working 9 to 5 like professionally for years. And I just kind of realized that wasn't really something that made me happy. You know, like spending time with my family made me happy, music made me happy, but I kind of thought that it was like too late for me to do a lot of that stuff. I felt like it was too late for me to try something different at 31 years old. And it's like really scary because like you're just not really sure what's going to happen, you know, but I believe in myself. I believe, you know, I have faith. I'm persevering. And so to go kind of on topic on what it takes, you know, it takes a lot of persistence and a lot of practice. A lot of persistence and a lot of practice. There are going to be times when you don't feel good about singing. You're not going to feel good about your voice. You're not going to feel good about music, any of that stuff. And you just have to do it anyway. Just like when you go to work and you're tired, you go to work, you're not feeling good. Like all those things still exist when you have a performance. That never goes away. So yeah, so now you have to kind of be like hardened a little bit, you know?
It's one of the phenomenons that happens when you're like a 9 to 5 work is that eventually people go through burnout, right?
And they get complacent.
But and they think that if they do what they love, that won't happen. It's not true.
Oh, it's not true at all.
Oh, it's not true.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, sometimes when you do what you love, you burn yourself out even more.
And you turn yourself off of what you love, and and become something you resent.
Yeah, it's so true. Like you can do what you love, but you need to do it
everything in moderation.
Yeah, in moderation, but too like you need to, I guess what I'm saying is like you need to have a plan for yourself, a vision for yourself. Like if you just want to be a hobby musician, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Right?
No.
Like not everybody needs to shoot for the stars, man. Right? Like some people just want to play music and that's fine. And other people want to do it professionally. And if you want to do it professionally, like you have to be persistent. You have to be your own worst critic.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to go through every performance and be like, what can I be doing better? Because there are a lot of other musicians that are competing for that. There are a lot of other musicians that are competing for those slots to perform. And it really is feast or famine. If you want to be playing out, you have to be hungry for it. You know,
right? There is
consistently. That is
yes, consistently.
If you want to do it once in a while, there's plenty of opportunities to do that.
Yeah, open mics.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Oh, exactly. But if you want to really like
they're get paid.
Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of people that I've worked with over the years that work equally as hard when it comes to like booking shows. And I've tried to stay in touch with all my contacts over the years, so that way when the year comes up and we want to play in different areas, we can reach out way in advance, try to figure out what dates will work and line it up. Because at the end of the day, like if you think of yourself as an artist that is trying to make money, you have to think of yourself as a business.
Yes.
And if you're thinking as a business, you have to understand, like, what am I offering? What is the service that I'm offering? I'm offering entertainment, live music. Well, that needs to be a good product, because if your product or your service is not good, people don't want to hire you.
And people, it's not only worse than not only that bad, but you're gonna draw people away from that venue, and then that's where things get really dicey.
Oh yeah,
because then you start making a bad reputation for yourself, and your career is gonna die on the spot. Yeah,
you honestly want to keep very good relations with everybody you work with, even if you didn't have a good experience. Like, still keep good. Yeah, still be professional. Like I've heard way too many stories of people that just like don't behave correctly when they're playing gigs, and it's like, let's be respectful, you know. But that all that stuff ties into, like, how do you do this, right? Well, step one, in my opinion, if I never played music before and I wanted to go out and start playing music, the first thing I would do would be I would pick 3 songs that mean a lot to me that I really want to sing. 3 songs that I really, really, really want to perform. Okay? Number 2, practice the ever-living heck out of those songs. Practice them over and over and over and over until you feel like you are like beyond perfect on those songs.
And play with it as well. Make it your own performance.
Yeah.
I'd add that.
Yeah, you absolutely, like whatever you're feeling organically in that regard, you can. But the third step I would say would be then to go out and start playing open microphones.
Yes.
There are plenty of open microphones in Lancaster, in Reading, that you can go to that are well within travel distance. Then they do them all week.
Right. If you're within the Lancaster County, there's an open mic at least somewhere within 30 minutes at least of driving.
Almost every day of the week they have open mics in Lancaster.
Quite literally.
Yeah, so it's like, that's actually how we met, was the Telus 360 open microphone that they had back in May, I think, or maybe it was April. I don't even know, man. It was a while ago. Yeah. But that was it. Like, that was the first time I ever played any of my music out like that. Like, those songs that you heard, that was the first time I ever played with that group. That was our very first, like, show. That was like our warm-up show.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. And we just came and did an open mic. So, like, people put too much pressure on themselves sometimes. Like, if you have new music and you want to try it, go hit an open mic, bro. You know, like, go, like, just go do something that's low key that you can, like, just, like, try it out, get the kinks out, you know, like, people tend to, like, get too wound up about it, you know, because it's stressful. You're on stage, you're performing, people are judging. That's all natural and normal to feel, but, like, you have to overcome that.
Right. And you're not going to know the reaction to your song unless you play it for people.
Yes, you're so right. You know what? When I played that song and everybody was yelling and stuff, that was crazy. When people came up to me after it and were like, dude, like, I loved that song. That was so, like, it was so heartfelt and genuine when they said it. And I was like, that's all I want. You know, like, as an artist, all I want is for my art to be accepted. You know, that's it. That's all I could ever want for, is just for somebody to take it and accept it and, like, get something positive out of it, whether it's they feel good or it makes them happy or it helps them with a difficult time in their life, like whatever it might be, right? And I just want to entertain people. I want to make people happy. And so I think that as musicians, we sit back and we're like, well, we need to have this perfect performance.
Right.
But
oh yeah,
perfection doesn't make entertainment.
No, it doesn't.
Right? As a matter of fact, I think that the inconsistencies with a live performance is what makes them so interesting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You hit a wrong note. It's like, oh, well, that's part of it.
Well, and it's energy.
And it's energy.
And it's energy, right? Like when somebody's about to sing a note and they don't really hit it perfectly, but it's got some energy behind it and some sass to it, and it hits, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
It could be a little bit off, and that's okay. And so that's why I encourage a lot of new artists to not focus on being perfect. Focus on doing your best.
Right.
Because
exactly.
all you can do is do your best.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. You can critique yourself all day into oblivion, but that's, first off, you got to realize that you are your biggest critic. That's just truth, no matter what. And you got to realize that people aren't going to like your music. That's going to happen.
It's going to happen, man.
And that's okay.
There are people that have undeniably amazing music and undeniably amazing voices. And there are people that don't like it, but that's okay.
There are some people that hate Elton John. And I'm like...
But it's undeniable that he writes great music.
Exactly, right?
It's okay.
Right.
If it's not your thing, that's fine.
That's fine.
But we do live in a world now that is very much so either you have to approve or not approve.
Mm.
And I think that is sort of not right.
No, it's not.
It's okay for people to
There's great
things, and there are okay for people not to like things, and that's okay. I don't expect everybody to like my music. I hope though that everybody will at least respect what I do, and at least at least everybody can hopefully say, hey, you know what? Even though it's not my kind of music, that dude still writes cool music. You know what I mean, man?
No, I know exactly what you mean. Because I've listened to so many artists, some people that I'm going to have on the show, that I just didn't quite like the music of. But I respect what they're doing, and the people like what they're doing. And so it's sometimes you have to let yourself take a back seat because you're in the presence of greatness.
Yeah.
Just something that you just don't like. And that's okay. That's totally fine. Everyone has their preferences. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong.
Well, and who are we to say what's good and what's not?
Right, exactly.
Right?
It's all subjective anyway. Music is really subjective anyway. So the point is that you get to enjoy what someone is, or even if you don't like it, you should still say, "Hey, great job."
Well, yeah, that's totally true. Even if it wasn't your thing, still be respectful about it. I think there's a lot of people that are like that. I think though too, sometimes we talk ourselves out of doing something before we even try it. So
that's right,
when we're playing music and we're I don't think people are going to like this. Well, who am I to say that people aren't going to like this? Why am I speaking for other people? Why am I saying other people won't like this when I don't know? You know what I mean? So that sort of stuff too happens a lot as an artist, as a writer. You'll come up with something and then you're afraid that people aren't going to be satisfied with that. But that's okay. Part of getting better is screwing up. Part of evolving is failing. Part of becoming who you're supposed to become is disappointment.
Right.
And but staying true to yourself is what's important.
And people are gonna love you for your failures.
Yeah, man.
And
hopefully, right?
Well, nobody loves a perfect character, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So even Superman is beyond perfect, right? But he still has that one weakness that's what everyone loves him for.
Yeah.
It's the kryptonite that makes Superman a compelling character, because then you can have all these different things. If you're perfect all the time, you're kind of boring.
Yeah, man.
In some aspects.
That's kind of the beauty of live music is I said this before, the imperfections, the energy, the just the rawness of a live performance. You don't get that anywhere else. You know what I mean? Like with anything else in life, like you don't really get that. And there's just something so cool about like a group of people that can like coherently perform music at the same time, right? Like it's like a cool thing. It's like a little bit mesmerizing, you know? So just being able to be a part of that has been incredible. And I feel so lucky to be playing with so many amazing musicians right now. And feel so thankful that like I'm able to start this journey. Even at 31 years old, and I'm able to like really start my journey. You know, like I've done music for years, but my journey has really like just started now, and I'm super pumped for that.
So what are some goals that you've set out for yourself?
So the first goal for myself was to like put a band together, and that happened. So that was cool. The second goal then was to play some cool shows. Like I don't have to be playing every weekend right now. I'd like to, but not right now, right? Like I'm in a couple different bands that I do other stuff with, you know, that I'm able to continue to play shows and like hone in musical skills and stuff. But this band, I really want to do it when like it's the right time at the right places. You know what I mean? Because this music is really high energy. Like I don't want to play this music at like a coffee house.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, I will if somebody really wants me to, but I want to play this in front of like the right audience of people,
right.
You know? So, that was the second goal I set for myself, was to like come up with a band and then to book some really cool shows. And I didn't really know the best way to do that. So I went and played that open mic at Tellus, and that's how I was able to like make the connection there, you know, like just going out and doing it. Well, I'm not sure. Let's try this and see if it works. And so, you know, we've booked some cool shows. So now next year, I want to try to really like get going. I want to try to put together like a bigger tour schedule next year for the summer, which I'm working on currently. It's just hard, you know, trying to pick out all the different venues, where to go, aligning people's schedules, things like that, aligning my own personal schedule.
Oh yeah.
So I'm trying to get that sorted out. And my hope is that I will actually be releasing more music. So I've already done Take a Hike, and I have a few more songs that have been recorded I just haven't released yet. And so I'm going to start to slowly release those over this next, I think, like year. I'm going to start to release those. And then I'm going to use those songs to try to start touring with those songs, with that material. And then I'm just going to see where it goes from there. But I think the end goal will be next year to complete like a full tour.
What would be a tour for you?
So a tour for me would be, I would say like at least a 2-week consistent gigging schedule out of the area. So so for example, like I might start here. I might do like an opening show in like Pennsylvania, and then I want to like drive. You know, maybe we'll go to Delaware. Maybe we'll go to New York. Maybe we'll go south. I don't know. Like that's kind of where I'm mapping right now. Like where do I want to go? Where is my target audience? Maybe I want to go down to Tennessee, to Nashville for a little bit. I don't know. Like, you know, there's so many options, but I need the logistics of it are a lot more work than people realize, because you have rental fees, you have like hotel costs, you have food. Like there's a lot, man, that goes into planning it. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but that's like the hope.
Yeah, I planned a road trip back in November, and we went basically from Salisbury, Maryland, like Ocean City area, to Pittsburgh, to Chicago, to St. Louis, Missouri, Nashville, and then Virginia and back. And oh my gosh, the amount of logistics that was 2 weeks for us that we scheduled out.
It's long, right?
It's long, and oh my gosh, food. We should have packed food. To be quite honest,
buying out is expensive.
But to be fair, we went to like Chicago and like St. Louis and like Nashville, really good food places anyway. So
you had to buy the food.
It kind of had to.
Yeah.
It'd be a crime if you didn't, almost kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's the one thing that we really should have budgeted budgeted out or researched gas prices.
Oh yeah, man. And right now it's like a crime. It's so high.
Well, back then I went to Chicago and it was $4.39. I remember specifically because I was like, that is the highest I've ever seen gas in my entire life.
Oh my gosh.
Now it's nothing. It was like $5.
Yeah.
But up there, and then when we went down to Nashville, it was like $2.85, and I'm like, oh, this is the best ever.
Yeah, down south it was always like a little bit cheaper. I don't know how it is now, but I know right now like gas prices are killing
everywhere
us. Like,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's definitely super high, and so like I was as I'm like planning stuff out, like a lot of those things are taken into consideration because again, like trying to do even just a mini tour is very expensive nowadays. Yeah. So like those sorts of things are things that I want to do in the future, but I will say this. I don't have any preconceived ideas for any of this in terms of where it needs to go, right? Like I am in a point in my life right now where I'm perfectly capable, that's not the right word. I'm perfectly content with just taking this one step at a time. Because there are a lot of times in my life where I've jumped the gun and I've blown it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get an opportunity and like you're not ready for it. But I do feel like right now, if I had an opportunity for something, I'd be ready for it. 10 years ago, no way. Right? But like now I feel like I understand myself and I understand my voice and I understand my artistry enough that if I was put in front of the right people, I could make something happen.
Right.
You know, but that's not what I'm trying for, right? What am I trying for? I'm trying for writing my music, building my own fan base, and being like a self-sufficient artist. You know, like I don't want to have to depend on a label. I don't want to have to depend on running things by people, right? Like I want to own my creativity. I want to own my brand. I want to own what I do.
And not be afraid to put out new stuff.
Yeah.
Either.
Yes, exactly. Like I should be able to put it out however I want to put it out.
Right.
And if that means that I have to work in a kitchen for the rest of my life to be able to do it, then I guess that's what I'm going to have to do, you know? But that's what we all sacrifice, you know? Like I will always make sure my family's taken care of. And I don't feel like I'm doing the wrong thing by any means, but I will always like, I guess like at this point, like there's just not much else to lose, you know? Like when you've given up enough, you start to realize that like what you have is enough and it gives you more time to do what you feel called to do because you're not distracted by everything else.
The point when you realize that you can live with very minimal resources is the time when you start actually having fun.
Yeah, a lot of us like feel like a lot of us are just too comfortable and it shows.
Yeah.
Like we're just too like I'm still too comfortable. Like I live a very nice life. I don't struggle with much, you know? Like I struggle with normal things that normal people struggle with, you know? My life could be so much harder than what it is.
Right.
And all of those things like I take into consideration like when taking risks, you know? But I also know that like I will not get anywhere doing the same thing that I've been doing.
Right.
Right. I will not get anywhere living the same life that I've been living. I will not get anywhere without being uncomfortable for a little bit.
Yeah, and that's such an American problem. Is
Yeah,
that
really
we're
is.
so comfortable that we don't want to try anything new, or we get complacent with where we're at in our lives. And when something wrong happens, quote unquote wrong happens to us, it's the end of the world, and there's no recovery from it.
Yeah, it really like right. It seems like as if like and call me crazy, but like for years my life felt like I was like one small disaster away from like completely unraveling. Like financially, mentally, like everything. Like why? Right? Like what's so serious that, you know, like there's a lot of people that struggle with a lot of stuff, and like the fact that I don't have to is good. You know, that gives me some time, and that gives me the ability to really like spend my time doing stuff that I need to do, that to progress myself forward, you know?
Right.
Like I don't like right now, like yes, am I working a lot between music and you know, like working and stuff? Yeah, of course. But like that's what it requires.
Right.
You know, like hard work breeds success, man. Like you have to put in the time, and so in that same regard, like trying to exist in a world that expects you to do one thing.
Right.
And then
be happy.
And be happy. Right. Right. Like that's how it works, right? It's like, come work for this company, come get these benefits, come get money, come get security, come get comfort.
Right.
At the cost of
all your freedom.
Yeah. At the cost of what? Your time.
Right.
And complacency. And I just realized that that's like just not the life we're meant to live. Some people, sure, but just not the life I was meant to live.
I've been doing a lot of fun things with like psychology, and it is seemed to be that the human nature innately is to be taken care of, right? And that's where things get dangerous, because then you get like dictatorships and all that kind of like jazz.
Sure, yeah.
Because the government's gonna take care of me, and then all of a sudden you can't do anything ever because you have to be taken care of. Quote unquote.
It's just like anything in life. At the end of the day, like regardless of what it is, I think some people are chatting too now that I just realized the chat was there. What's up, dude? Yeah, I think that what's up, Jesse? What's up?
Jesse.
Yeah. I think that might have been my dad actually. I can't see too
Joe,
far.
yeah.
Yeah, that was my dad actually. What's up, Dad? Hopefully you're still watching. Yeah, there are a lot of things in life that we get comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have to realize is that if you're comfortable and you're not pushing yourself,
where are you going?
Right. Like I got tired of doing the same things every single day of my life. I actually really enjoy having a life where like there's not really a lot of normalcy or consistency, Like that's something that I'm cool with. That's something that I actually enjoy a lot more than I thought I would.
Oh yeah. not having a routine is, granted, I do work well within a routine, and I'd argue that most people do. But having that sprinkle of uncertainty or sprinkle of difference, it makes the difference, because that way you don't get burned out, first off.
Yeah.
Because everything's always different all the time. You're not walking in a rut your entire work week. Whatever that means for you.
I literally watched so many people in my life, including myself, just totally burn out because we're so tired of what we're doing, right? And it's like, I knew I had to change that. The pandemic kind of forced me to change that.
Yeah, right.
So I was like put in like a really unique position where I had to like I just had to like get stuff figured out, okay, well, what I was used to is gone.
And it's not coming back.
It's not coming back. And so I had to fix it. I had to adjust, and that was hard. But what came out of it was like so beneficial.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, change is, if you want to change something, it's gonna be hard. And that shouldn't be an excuse for you not to do it.
Totally agree. Like things, if something is hard, I read a quote the other day, and it was like, sometimes things are difficult because we're the first one to do it. And it's like, I'm not the first one to be a musician.
Right.
I'm not the first one to sing, but I'm the first one to do my music. I'm the first one to play my songs. I'm the first one to do this my way. Right. So like, don't be scared of that.
No, and don't quit either, because that's one thing. Granted, you don't want to go in a sunken cost fallacy either, which is spending so much time that you just drown yourself.
Yeah.
But you don't want to quit early either, because truth is, you're not going to find most of the time. You're not going to find success immediately.
No, never.
And you're going to have to invest in yourself too.
Yes.
It takes a lot of money to start a business. It takes a lot of time, which takes away from money opportunities to start playing music, or even creating music, or doing something that you want to do. It's going to take an immense amount of investment from yourself.
Yes.
And you probably won't receive return until maybe granted, if you had started playing guitar today, you probably wouldn't be getting any return on that until like maybe a year if you practiced hourly.
It would probably be even more than that.
It would probably be even more than that. Like, the only reason that people get successful is because they keep going at it and they don't give up.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster, and you have to accept that.
Have you ever like gone on a YouTuber, like a big YouTuber's YouTube channel? And have you ever like just sorted their videos by date and looked at their very first video? Unless their very first video was viral, it has almost no views.
Right. Still.
because like that wasn't what got them going, right? Like that was their start, but you have to constantly be creating and filling that need and desire for your consumers to like, you know, with the product that you offer. So like a lot of times people will have a big channel of stuff and it's just like accumulated over time.
Right.
And that's all it takes is like, even on TikTok nowadays, like you really can be like just kind of like average with like in the creativity department and just like stitch people's videos. You just duet them. You can just duet videos and like just look like take a viral video, duet it, make a funny face while it's happening, and then boom. Overnight success.
The amount of reaction
It's
videos
crazy.
on TikTok that get way more views than the original, it drives, and all they're doing is just staring at it.
But but the reason why that works is because they're doing it every day, consistently, and eventually like it picks up. And so like though like there's a lot to be said about consistency, man.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, hey, you know what? Props to them. The fact that they're finding success to it is great, but at the same time, it boils my blood. But at the same time, you know, like
congrats for you, but also ouch for me.
Yeah, you know, but at the same time, like that's okay. Like instant gratification is never something I've been about. Instant success has never been something I've ever looked for, so I don't expect it now.
Yeah, because it doesn't work either.
Yeah.
You can't. It would be a weird world if you successed at everything immediately.
Yeah, if you were successful at the things that you did right off the bat, like as humans, like there would really be no purpose.
Yeah.
Like the whole reason why this stuff is so amazing is because like it's taken years for people to get good at this.
We'd be so advanced though.
Yeah, we would. You're right.
We would be so advanced.
Can you please show me how to reassemble that nuclear warhead again, please? Like, how about that motor over there?
How
like,
about can you set up can you turn Mars into Earth?
Yeah, right. Just like we would have the answer for everything, you know? Like,
and it would be, oh my gosh, it would be it'd be so boring. Because everything would be known and there would be no mystery.
Yeah, part of the fun is like getting better at something.
It's just the discovery.
Yeah.
It's the discovery process.
Yeah, part of it is like realizing that, wow, you know what? I can do this. Wow, I'm actually better at this than I thought. Like there's so many like so many ways that we can be successful. But what really matters is that if you do it and you do it the right way, you know? And I don't mean like in terms of like getting popular the right way, right?
Right.
I mean, just like doing it the right way, man. Like getting people to follow you because you're putting out genuine content. You know, like people that put out crappy content eventually fizzle out. That's just what happens. But if you do it the right way, you build a system that essentially it compounds itself. And I guess sort of in the similar sense with music, like I don't really do too much music online because I told you like the internet and Facebook and all that stuff, like it kind of gets under my skin. Like just the way it is, you know, like the what it's turned into, right? What it used to be was like a diary, like an open diary for people, you know, but more along the lines of for like their personal lives. And you know, look at my kids and I'm like, that was really cool, right? Staying connected with people, right? Like, you know, Facebook, like watching your friends and family grow together, right? Like that could have been the advertisement for it, you know? But now it's like people are just on there and like they're angry and like there's
memes.
It's always, people are always like getting a kick out of somebody else's expense. And it's like, it's just, to me, like that's just really like crappy.
Toxic.
Yeah. It's just really crappy and really just it's not something that I really want to like be a part of.
Yeah, it's crazy how Facebook has changed because you're right. When granted, I was more of a child when it first came out, but it was the way that you saw, you kept in contact with your high school friends or your childhood friends. You saw, oh, look, my Jimmy is on the baseball team at the college university and he's doing really good. He's a really good pitcher now.
Yeah.
Or hey, Stephanie, that one girl I met at martial arts class way back when, is now married. Wow.
Yeah, like exactly. Like it was
It's
meant.
kind of like
It was almost yeah. It was like I thought it was meant, and some people use it this way still. Like
yes, it still can be used that way.
yeah, like I use it a lot of times to eat. And now let me back up for a second. I now use it to like post show stuff, right? So people can see what's going on when they want to come to shows. And then I also use it to like for like life stuff. For like mainly like pictures of my kids, and like my wife will tag me in posts and like monumental things, so that way when I get a memory for it a year later and years later, I can see what's going on, right? And it was nice. It's like a nice little journal.
I use it as a storage for all my photos.
Oh yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Like so, like all that stuff is like really like that makes a lot of sense, right? But then like I just like I would find myself like getting sucked into like a lot of nonsense too.
Oh yeah.
Like just like a video of like something happening, and then you go in the comments section, everybody's just like fighting, and it's like why? Like why? Like what's the point? Like what? I just feel like the people that would happen to, I'd see them get more hostile in real life too. Like as if they couldn't have a conversation with somebody. It was really crazy.
Right.
Like,
It's the how because rage generates clicks and money, and that's what these companies have really figured out and
it's all reactions, man.
really nailed down.
That's why they added so many react buttons now, because people were like, well, I don't want to like it because I'm
mad.
Yeah, because I'm mad. Well, now you can be mad. You know.
Right.
Well, now it's like, it's just so wild. Like, it's a slippery slope.
It really is.
It's a slippery slope.
Because the algorithm will feed you more and more rage baiting stuff because you keep watching it.
It literally, you're so right. It literally feeds you. So like the stuff that makes you mad, it's going to feed you more of that because you're going to pay more attention to it.
And it's going to keep you on the site longer.
It's almost like giving like an alcoholic like more alcohol. Like
it's exactly.
It's just like fueling the fire, man.
It's giving a baby a piece of candy and then not stopping.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Like, oh, they like candy. We'll give you more of that.
Yeah, it's wild. And so like that's why a lot of times like I tend to really stay off of social media as much as possible.
Absolutely. Go outside.
Yeah, but it's like it's also hard to like keep up with people. Like I don't mean people like personally. I mean it's hard to keep up with like other artists. Right. So like Mike Shinoda put out a tweet. He's he's a rapper in Linkin Park. In case you don't know, if you don't know Linkin Park, they're awesome. I love them. They're awesome. LINKINPARK. I think that's how you spell it. Hybrid Theory was an awesome album if you're into like just like hard rock, new metal type stuff. So,
you at least know one of their songs.
Oh, I love.
What is In the End?
In the End is great. Paper Cut's great.
Right.
Like One Step Closer. I mean, there's just so many good songs. But the one thing he tweeted about was he said, social media puts a lot of unwarranted pressure on artists. He said, people feel pressured to have to post all the time when it takes away from the time they could be using to like be creative in other ways. And right. So like now myself and like other people, we have to spend time just like planning posts. I don't want to do that. Like I really don't like posting that much. Like, you know what I mean? Like I should only post things when it's necessary. I shouldn't feel like I have to post every day because people need a peek into my life 24/7. It's so invasive.
That's what the algorithm forces upon you.
It's so invasive, man. Like, it's so invasive. And so, to me, like, I try to set those standards for myself. Like, I don't want to be a camera hog. I don't want to be doing that all the time. Like, I just feel like it's silly. It's not, obviously, because people are clearly benefiting from that. People are clearly gaining a following from that. So I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I'm saying to me it just feels wrong.
It feels inauthentic.
It feels very inauthentic. Yeah, I'd rather... Facebook did this thing to my Facebook page, my personal page, where like, because I have like so many people that have followed me, not friend requested me, but so many people have followed my personal page that now if you go to my personal page, it only asks if you want to follow me. You can't even friend me anymore.
Oh, really? Is that the way it is?
I'm like, this is like, so people have like that I've been friends with were like, dude, I can't even like message you on Facebook anymore. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? So it's just weird. It's weird. Like I don't want to. If I'm gonna become a public figure, at some point in my life, fine. But like, don't turn my personal Facebook page
right
into
into
public figure. Like, it's
Yeah,
got
that's not
photos of my family on there. Like, it's got, I don't want that. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So I just, it kind of stinks because I grew up in this age. I grew up with Facebook. I
Yeah.
grew up when Facebook first started. You know, like we were on MySpace one day and Facebook the next day. It just kind of happened overnight, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of good and a lot of cool things that could still be done with Facebook.
Oh, for sure.
But I just think that it's kind of
It's a
going.
balance.
It's a balance, man.
It's a
We're,
balance.
we're I think we're starting to get into some stuff that we can't control right now.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Yeah,
but
it's good.
but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yes,
'Cause humanity reverts itself
eventually.
eventually. Yeah, we'll get there because it's. Have you ever heard of the Strauss-Howe theory,
Mm-mm.
generational theory?
I haven't.
So it's strong men make good times, times make weak men make bad times make strong men.
And it kind of goes
It
over
kind of
again.
just goes over and over and over again. It's like
Mm.
every 80 years or so.
Wow.
And supposedly we're in that time of weak men making bad times,
Wow.
as the theory goes.
I mean, it's possible because if you look at what's going on in our world right now, it just seems like a lot of us are upset about things that we don't need to be upset about. And there are things that we need to be upset about that we're not upset about because everybody's always upset about it to the point where people are tired of hearing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another thing too is that a lot of times we can't even have a conversation because if somebody feels one way about something, then it's like
Anyone else who believes otherwise is evil.
yeah, and it's just
Right.
that's not like a good that creates tribalism, right? Like that
Right,
creates
it's bad. Division.
That creates
Hate.
you versus me, and that's not something we really want.
That's
like
not humans. That's not how we best interact with each other.
yeah, like what can like look around you. Like this was all built together.
Yeah, it's
Right?
all about the human existence is one of cooperation, not isolation.
Yeah, we need to be working together, and we need to just like do
Figure
our
some things
best.
out.
Yeah, we really like in life. We really should be doing our best to build people up. We should be doing our best to help other people. We should be doing our best to give when we can, because there are going to be times when we need something, and somebody else's graciousness is going to be what helps us, you know. And so I think you might be onto something there, man. Just in a time and age where things are a little bit complicated and a little bit unsure, like we have to kind of buckle down, work hard, and fight for what's right, man.
And well, yeah, and that's the whole point. Then the question becomes, what is right? And that's where things get very sticky.
Yeah, true. Right.
So
what is right and wrong? Right.
What is right and wrong?
Where's the line?
Where's
Yeah.
the line? And that can be a theological question. That can be a political question. That can be
Many different
It can be
things.
many different things, and there's many different opinions on that. And that's where you really have to break down the barriers of what you think is right.
Yeah.
Because that's where giant egos that's where it's really gonna be bad.
Yeah, there are people in history that have thought what they're doing is right, and it's absolutely not right.
That's right.
But they've believed so like wholeheartedly in it that they were able to move mountains. And
for better or for worse.
For better or for worse. So, you know, that kind of stuff, like affects everybody, you know. Even, you know, no matter what side you take on something, somebody wins and somebody loses. And I think that's always inherently the problem, right? Is like in music, nobody has to win or lose. Like everybody can have a good time.
Right. There's a spot for everybody.
Yeah, and that's like one thing I really enjoy about music is that like it doesn't matter what you're going through, it doesn't matter what you're feeling at the time. When I start playing music or other people start playing music, everything can change for you, even if it's just for a few minutes. And I think that the reason I stay off of social and do more live in person stuff is because like I want people to get a break. like as much as I need a break from it, I think I want other people to get a break from it and realize like what it's like. Like I try to tell people when they come to the shows, like, yo, if you want to take a picture, a little video real quick, that's cool. But like I encourage you guys to like not have your phones out.
Be in the moment.
Yeah, like if I want to get pictures, like I'll hire a photographer, you know, because a lot of times I'll hear like, oh, I wanted to get pictures for you. It's like, it's okay. I'm doing this for you.
Right.
I'm out here playing this show for you. You don't have to do anything for me, you know, like.
And escapism is so important. It's so important. That's why, like, kind of like sports is kind of like a sacred thing, because it's a thing. It's a thing that we go to escape the problems of this world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how we deal. How we're able to deal with what's going on in the world. We have to have that safe space to be like, nothing else matters right now. I'm gonna have a good time, and that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to relax. I need to have a good time. I need to go out, breathe some fresh air, forget all of the news and whatever else is happening, and I need just to be with myself, this music, this sport, this whatever, this activity, and just feel it.
Well, and
get away from the stress of life.
And a lot of times with what we do as musicians and as artists is like we have to be in the right headspace when we're entertaining.
For sure.
And so think about everything you just thought about, like weighing on you every single day, and then now you have to go perform for people and you have to be totally clear of mind. That's just like a very hard thing to do. So that's why, yeah, that's why like I try to incorporate like my message of what I want to accomplish in with my show, so that way I can help myself to achieve it just like everybody else.
What's your message?
The message is really just living in the moment, man. I want people to live life to the fullest with the time that they have now.
Live like you're dying.
Yeah, right? Like I mean, if you think about it, like the second that we're born, like we're on a clock until we die. We never know when that's going to be.
Right.
And I don't want to get dark and gloomy and all that stuff, but if you knew when you were going to die,
would you sit around?
Well, like, would you be afraid?
Right.
Right? Like here's the thing. If you knew that you were going to die when you're this age from this thing, would you be afraid of it, or would you try to do everything you can to make your life as fulfilling as possible before that time comes? And I really think that's where most people would fall. I think that there are some people that would be overwhelmed by the thought of it and not be able to do anything. And I think there'd be a lot of people that would say, you know what, dude, I'm going to make the best of it, because there are a lot of people that have terminal conditions that are dying right now, that are living life to the fullest that they can before things get worse, because they know that they don't always have tomorrow. And I think that in that life of handouts and complacency and ease that we live in now, we can learn so much from that. We can learn so much from that and teach ourselves what's important. You know, like again, it's not the things, it's not money, it's not any of that stuff. Those things can provide
people, really.
Yeah, those things can provide comfort, but it's the people, it's the experiences, it's the conversations, right? Like this podcast, I hope that the right person watches it. Yeah. I pray that just one person watches this podcast and then it makes a difference in their life. That's it. That's all. Right? Like I drove an hour to get here. You drove 4 hours to get here? 4 hours.
Yeah, I came from Pittsburgh.
So we drove hours to get here.
Not even knowing each other.
Not even knowing each other.
By the way.
Just
one pre-call.
Just to hope that one person will be impacted by this. That's it, man.
Yeah, and that's and really truly that is the goal of the podcast. It's not about granted, it is about somewhat lifting ourselves up, and promoting a little bit, but it's more about lifting others up.
Yeah, I want to make a difference, man.
And helping other people get the stuff that they need to hear. That's really the goal of this podcast, is to coalesce experience, and that can come in many different ways, and it's invaluable.
Definitely.
The internet. That's the coalescence of experience right there.
Oh yes.
And
yes.
How, for better or for worse, it's invaluable.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. The internet gives us access to so much information.
Gives us to the summation of human knowledge.
Yeah, it really does. But like, just like with anything, with great power comes great responsibility. And now we live in a world where like everybody thinks they know everything because you can just like fact check it. But it's like
Quote,
you don't even
yeah,
know
quote
if your
unquote.
facts are right. It's
Right,
like
exactly.
it's just so confusing. This is what I'm saying, man. It's so confusing. You know what's real? This
right yes.
now. You know what's real? Like conversations. Like that's real. You know, like everything else in between is just kind of like what you perceive it to be.
Right.
And
there are organizations that want you to think a certain way.
oh yeah.
And so you can't even trust your the media that you intake. You don't even know if that's being propagandized against you at some points.
Oh yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know about any of that stuff.
Right, exactly. And that can go into all sorts of conspiracy theories as well. So I'll leave that up.
Yeah, that's like a whole rabbit hole.
That's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, like the phrase "don't believe everything you see on the internet" still stands.
Oh,
to
it
this
still
day.
stands,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But not a lot of people follow it anymore.
Not a lot of people follow it, or it's like don't believe everything that they say.
Yeah,
right. You know?
I mean, I've seen things where like people fact check, and it's like you fact check, and like different studies show different things on whatever, and it's like, you know what, dude, I don't even know because I'm not I'm just a stupid musician, man. Like you know what I mean? Like it's.
I've seen news organizations, like news websites post one thing and then the next day post the exact opposite of what they said the day before.
It's like everybody's pandering. Yeah, it's like everybody panders to like one side or the other back and forth because they want to get the reactions, because the reactions and the comments are what gets them the money. So it's like, you know what, dude, but we get it. I get the game.
Mm-hmm.
You get the game. That's why when I see stuff, I'm not really
about it.
doing it. Yeah, because it's just like whatever, you know, like.
And we hope that now that you realize the game as well.
Yeah,
it really is unplugging yourself from the matrix. It
kind of is.
It really is, because once you realize that this is all just kind of somewhat made up and somewhat kind of fake rage, and it's all for a profit, then you can really realize what's most important in your life, because the things they want you to do is to stay online.
Yeah.
And once you unplug yourself and you realize, oh, there is a community of human beings around me that, one, love me and want to spend time with me, that's when you really become a human again.
Oh, dude, you know, it's so funny because every time I go to a show, the first thing that people always ask me is like, well, what's your social? What's your social?
Right.
And I'm like, I just sit there. I'm like, they don't even introduce themselves anymore.
Exactly.
I'm like, what? Like if I meet somebody I don't know, the first thing I do is I shake your hand and I say, hey, I'm Justin. What's your name?
Right.
Right? Like if I meet somebody at a show, hey, you know what? I'm Justin. I just want you to know, like, you don't know me, but I saw your set and I just thought you did an amazing job. What's your name, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, but no, people are just like, I want to follow you right away on Instagram. Like, well, it's like, why? I'm right here, and you can literally talk to me right now.
Instead
dude.
of DMing me, you can actually use your voice and say, hey, how are you?
Yeah, and like I don't want to like please, like I'm not saying like I don't want this to get taken out of context. Or like I don't, of course I don't mind.
Right.
It doesn't bother me. I find it funny.
It's ironic.
You know, maybe people just in the moment don't think about it, and that's fine. But that's something I want people to think about. It's true. Like, I'm here with you right now. Let's talk now. Like, What do you want to know? You know, like
you can always ask later for socials.
Yeah, like I can't guarantee that I can answer your Facebook message, but I can answer your question right now if you ask it. Yeah. Yeah, it's just stuff like that. I think I'm just with my music, I just want people to come back. I want people to come back to connecting with like live music. I want people to come back connecting with local artists. I want people to come back and start to like really connect with people again. Right. Because I find that when people come to our shows, like they have a really good time, and they have a better time than they thought they would.
And here's the main thing: people are online because of like nationwide issues, and they want to change them on one way or another. Yeah. The way you do that is not by going online. The way you change national things is by starting with your own community.
Yes, 100% agree.
You have to engage in your local economy. You have to engage with your local politics or whatever, your local scene, the community, to actually make real change. If you want to make real grabbable
tangible
yeah,
grabbable tangible, yeah,
a real tangible change, it begins with your next door neighbor. It begins with maybe your landlord. It begins with your local bar. It begins with your local musician. It begins local.
Yes, it totally does. Everything you do starts with you. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you do starts with you. Everything you do ends with you. So why try to go for something that just seems like,
why waste it on a person on the other side of the world?
Yeah, right. Like, why worry about what somebody else thinks when you don't know them?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Let's probably can't change their mind either.
Yeah, let's worry about the people that are around us today. Let's worry about the people that are next to us. And let's learn how to have a conversation. Let's learn how to be respectful and not like always think that like your point's not being made if someone is not agreeing with you.
Right.
Like we can disagree and still walk away educated.
Yeah.
Like there are people that I have had conversations with many times in my life that just simply don't agree with like what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. I respect that. That's cool. But you know what? Like my family isn't suffering. Like, like we're doing what we think is right. Like we feel like it's right. That's all that matters. I guess like at the end of the day, like if you don't believe in yourself, who's to believe in you?
Right. There's no one left.
Yeah.
But you.
Yeah. See, it just starts there. But then, yeah, manifesting that within your own community is so important. People overlook that. People like what are you gonna do? You're famous on the internet. Now what?
Right. Exactly.
Right? Now what?
Now what?
Like what's the play, man? Right? Like, okay, you have all these followers. You're making money. Are you happy? Okay, you're comfortable. Cool. Do you enjoy it? Maybe. Okay. But like then like all of a sudden like Facebook bans your account. Now what happens?
Or the power goes out.
The power goes out. The internet dies. Right? Like what happens?
Where's your followers now?
Right. Like so everything like all of this like hinges on the fact that like we have access. But once you lose access, what happens?
And it's gonna happen. It rains.
It could eventually.
Well,
you
even
never know.
Sometimes it rains. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like power goes out.
Yeah, I
all the time.
mean, like I guess the thing is like what is like on the internet isn't tangible.
It's you
like
can't grab.
Yeah, like what's on the internet will not be there for you if the internet doesn't exist. And like, okay, you could say that about anything. Like, okay, in life, well, things don't happen if you don't exist. Well, that's true, but let's just back up for a second. Like, if something happens to you tomorrow, who's going to show up at your funeral? Is the internet going to show up to your phone? Right.
They're probably they'll make memes out of you.
They might be sad. They they might post, "I'm so sorry to hear this," and then guess what? They're going to forget about you.
Yeah.
Because you were just another blip on their timeline.
Yeah.
And I want to be more than that for people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be someone that inspires people, someone that encourages people to do things that they don't think that they can do. Because like I didn't think that I could do this, but I'm trying, And I think that if I can try, you can too. Right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to fail, we'll fail together, man. It's cool. And sometimes you got to take an L, man. It happens. Sometimes
That's like
sometimes you just got to lose, man. It's fine. But you know what? If I'm doing this and I lose, that's okay, man. I tried. I really did.
And
right?
It's a part of first off, you learned.
Yeah.
It's part of the experience.
Yeah.
And at some point there's a point to which things can go.
Yeah.
And then you got to move on.
Exactly. There's can I feasibly try to do this for the rest of my life and not succeed? Yeah. Yeah. But at some point I know that I'll probably either be doing it or not doing it. Like I've always seen some kind of motion in stuff that I do. I feel super thankful for that. Where like if something's supposed to happen and it feels right, it just happens. Like our interview today, right? Like it just our podcast today just happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're like it wasn't like we have this whole big script that we planned out for all of this. Like you called me once. We were like, "Yo, is it cool if I ask you these some of these questions like about these things just to make sure I'm not sensitive about any of it?" And then that was it. And we just got to know each other for a few minutes, and then that was it. And like that's like organic conversation.
Yeah.
And like
This stuff that we're talking about wasn't even planned, by the way.
Yeah, I don't even think this is on.
This is not in our script.
I guess you had questions and stuff. Yeah, but like to me, like organic conversation is the
Right.
most meaningful conversation, and I I think that sometimes we just don't have enough of it because we're having conversations online when you can't understand emotion. You don't
my
know
gosh.
what they're trying to say. You don't understand the context that they're saying it in. There's always so much more to. That was almost really cool. The story, right? There's always more to the story, and that's why I feel that every door that opens up for you, if it's open and it feels right, take it. And sometimes another door closes. Sometimes that door closes as you're about to go through it. Sometimes you get one foot in the door and it slams on your foot. That's okay. I've had a lot of those moments in my life. I'm sure you have too. It's about finding the next door. As Matthew McConaughey would say, it's about finding your green lights. If you ever read that book, Matthew McConaughey, Green Lights, it's a great book. And he talks about all of the green light moments in his life and all the red light moments in his life. That man's had a lot of red lights. But I'll tell you what, every time he had a green light, he did not hesitate.
Right.
And that's what's so wonderful about it. That's why he is where he is now. That's why he does what he does now.
If you're expecting life to not have quote unquote red lights or closed doors, you're gonna live a sad life.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll if your life doesn't consist of red lights and green lights, if it doesn't consist of seasons,
then
you're really just kind of doing the same thing over and over again. Right? Like could you imagine doing the actual same thing over and over and over again every single day? It's for most of us, we'd go crazy. And yet
9 to 5.
And yet so many of us live that way.
Yeah.
And yet so many of us live that way. And again, it's not for everybody.
No.
But,
I do know people that like some people that went to college, like, what was it, hard like working college? Like, they actually went to college so they knew how to do hard work.
Oh, yeah.
I forget exactly what that's called, but when I first met somebody I worked at a factory for a while, and what we were literally doing, it was cleaning with like grit and stuff, and the grit got wet, so it sticks together. So it's like little iron boulders that you could then have to like stomp on and like sled, like literally breaking rocks.
Oh, geez.
And not for me at all. But the guy I was working with was like, "Yeah, man, I love this," and it was like he was doing it every single day. I'm like,
good for you, man, right?
Good for you. Listen, I am so happy that you love breaking rocks.
Yeah.
But it's not for me.
Yeah, it just wasn't your shtick. Like you find like your purpose in life eventually, and when you do, it's your choice whether or not you see it through or you leave it be. And I've just discovered that by trying to see my purpose through, like it's made my life very turbulent, but not unenjoyable by any means. Like by any means is my life unenjoyable at this point. In fact, like at this age, at 31 years old, I feel like I'm actually like the most alive I've ever been because I just feel like there's so much uncertainty for my future. Whereas in before, I felt like I knew exactly what was going to happen. And I think that's what worried me, right? I was living this life that I just knew what was going to happen. And like, I don't want to know, right? Like I want that mystery. I want to live on the edge a little bit. I want to have some fun. I want my family to experience that too. But like my family, when I grew up, like we really didn't like have to grow up on super hard times or anything like that. Like I felt like we were always provided for, and I appreciate that. I feel like the reason that I feel safe enough to do what I'm doing now is because my family did that when I was growing up. Like I knew
it could be done.
It could be done. And I knew that my life was meant to be something more. I could just feel it. It was like a feeling in my gut where it was like, you know what? I don't want to do this because it doesn't feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. And like, I was always really scared to listen to that voice. I was always scared to listen to that voice that was telling me, you know what, dude, you got to just do this. You know what, dude, you got to just like take this chance. You know what, dude, you have to just like try. sometimes you try and you don't have a backup plan and you fail and you back yourself into a corner, and that's a tight spot to be in.
Right.
But you don't know unless you try. You don't know unless you learn. It's part of living.
It's really interesting that you grew up in a rather safe childhood. I'm assuming.
Yeah, for the most part, I would say.
And you came away with that. I grew up in a very turbulent childhood, losing a house, losing a mother at age 12.
Wow.
And dad having to go away to jail because
Wow.
alcohol abuse and all that jazz.
Jeez.
And so much turbulence. And yet I still came away with that. It was like, well, because I know that it's, because I know that I can, if I want it. But granted, I know that if my life hadn't been so turbulent, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Yes, you're right. Your experience has defined you.
Right.
In terms, the way Bane would say it, I was born in it, raised and molded in it. Yeah, right. Like you went through that and you still came out with a good head on your shoulders because it's possible.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to accept that. You have to be willing to accept the fact that, yes, your life was hard, but that you can still make a positive change. It can still have a positive outcome. I think there are a lot of people that live difficult lives that are hopeless, and that's like, I understand the feeling of feeling hopeless, but I also know that there probably is a way for them to help themselves somehow, one way or another, and it's probably really hard. And I don't envy that position to be in, because like I feel like the difficult decisions I've had to make in my life are still a lot easier than what a lot of people have to go through. Like I want to say that, like I feel that way.
For me, it was not being a victim anymore.
Yeah, I bet.
You know what I mean?
I bet, man.
If you view yourself as a victim, you're never gonna. Well, you'd be like, well, I'm just a this person. I'm just a that person.
Oh, this just happens to me all the time. Oh, I have bad luck.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You build your own self-destructive spiral that you can't get out of because I'm a victim.
Yeah.
And that is a very hard place to get out of. And that's not to down anybody that's in that spot, but you really, it's for me it was a God thing. For other people that's going to be completely different. But for you can do it. It is possible.
Totally possible.
And you just have to have the right place, right time, right people, and you really have to dig deep within yourself.
Yes.
To find that purpose and that drive again.
Yeah, self-discovery is absolutely life-changing. But the process of self-discovery is life-shattering.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. I was only able to say it back to that bad relationship that I had. I was only able to say no because I knew myself well enough that if I started talking to that person again, I would, re-fall in love, or I would have it in the back of my mind that I want to get back together with this person. But you have to know those things, qualities about yourself. Like, if I'm gonna spend time with this person, maybe I'm gonna get too attached.
Yeah.
Or if I'm gonna even look at this particular thing, it's gonna make me fall into this. I'm gonna use Christian terminology. I'm gonna fall into this particular sin.
Yeah.
Or this particular wrong.
Yeah. Right.
So you have to know that stuff about you. That way you can curtail it and quote unquote sanctify your own, or build back your own life.
Yes.
And take control of your life.
Yeah, taking control of your own life is easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when you look at all the outside pressures we have on our life on a daily basis. I mean, even just waking up in the morning and looking at yourself in the mirror and saying like, "Oh, wow, I look like crap today." Like we start our day off negative.
Even going back when you hear the alarm, like, "Oh, I have to get up."
Yeah, like see, I read a book called The Storyteller by Dave Grohl, the lead singer of the Foo Fighters, and he said every day he wakes up and he's excited. He almost like he can't sleep because he's excited to wake up for the next day. And I just can't wrap my head around that. I can't wrap my head around being excited to wake up because for whatever reason, it's just like not exciting to me.
Well,
Like I guess maybe I just don't have as much energy as him or something. But I guess the thing is like that's how he views life, right? He views life as this one big joyride, and he's lived his life that way, and it shows. That's why he is the way he is, and he does what he does, and
singer to Foo Fighters.
Right. Well, because he's just lived his life one step at a time, and I think that was not. I meant to actually like adjust my headphone and forgot that there was a back here. I think that's like a really cool way to live your life. For me personally, I think I want to make a lot of experiences and I want to do a lot of cool stuff. I don't think I need it to be as spontaneous as his life was.
Right.
Because I have a family. Like he did this whole thing before he had his family, and then he had his family while he was a rock star. So it kind of, things were a little bit different for him, right? But for me, like I have a family. And I'm married and all that stuff, and I have like normal like responsibilities. You know what I mean? Like if I was just like a single dude,
you do whatever you want.
Yeah, right. I'd be doing whatever. Literally, be doing whatever. But I can't. I have other people that rely on me, and so trying to find a way to do this responsibly has been the hard part. Because I have like obligations and people that I love in my life and care for dearly in my life. My kids, my wife, my dogs, That's only to name a couple. Obviously my mom, my dad, my great, like all, the list goes on. So I'm trying to like responsibly think how to do this, but it's so funny because like everything comes down to money all the time.
It really does.
And it's like, I've let that portion go. Music, I try to make money on, but it's not the goal. It's not the purpose, right? Like I try to play out and make money and play with other bands and make money and things like that. But at the end of the day, my goal isn't money. And once I've sort of changed that, that's when my perspective started to shift. And that's when I realized that there's a lot more to life than what everybody tells you.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have to just go find that for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, go find that little slice of life for yourself, no matter what it might be or where it might be, and see it through.
For me, it was I teach children how to swim.
Nice.
And it's for me. My sometimes my parents are like, "Well, you got to find a job that pays benefits," and I'm like, "Well, but that kind of job is boring.
That kind of job is not fulfilling, right?"
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So with teaching children, not only do I get to see them grow, but I get to see them build so much. Like when I have a child, that when I even just bring them into the water, they freak out and they just grip.
They're probably scared.
Hard. Well, yeah, no, because they are utterly terrified. They are making welts into your skin by how hard they grab you, or maybe they'll kick you in the spots that you don't want to be kicked.
Yeah,
which has happened many times. But they go from that to now. I've had kids that started out like that, and now they're swimming.
They're full-fledged.
They're floating on their
great.
back, no problem. No tears, no fears.
Yeah.
And it's just this elating joy that is indescribable.
Oh, I bet. I bet, man.
Yeah, and that's what really makes me live. And that's another thing with the music thing too. Just seeing people, when you as a pianist, when I hit a chord and people go, "Woo!" And, people start whooping and like. And you start turning heads and you start playing and people get up and dance.
That's like,
and people are like having fun and that's the human moment.
Yes, 100% agree. That is that emotion. That is what makes that a human moment, right? It's not what happened, like what you did, but rather what transpired in the interaction between the two human beings, which was so cool. That moment where you realized and they realized that you've taught them something that they will never forget.
Yeah.
You've taught them a lifelong skill that they will never forget. Every time that kid swims, he has you to thank for it. And if you think about that, that's pretty powerful. You're changing lives, and that's what that's what I want to do through music. I want to positively change and impact lives. Because I know there's a lot of crap in this world. There's a lot of negativity in this world. And I just want people to know that they're loved. I want people to know that it's okay to mess up. It's okay to be faulty. It's okay to have imperfections, because that's what makes us human. That's what makes us so cool, honestly.
Yeah, right. Like, it would be so boring if, like pulling it back to the earlier conversation, it'd be so boring if everyone was perfect all the time and there's no failure.
Totally agree, man. It'd be absolutely dull.
So kind of wrapping all of this up.
Yeah.
What are some mistakes that you have made or seen other people make, and how do we combat that? Or what are some alternatives that you would suggest?
I would say the biggest mistake I've seen people make is being dishonest and not being upfront with what they want, what they want to accomplish, and with what their intentions are.
Mm-hmm.
I think that dishonesty right there is
no good.
No good, man. Not because like I've been dishonest, but rather just because like I've run into so many dishonest people, and with me being just very like, yeah, man, sure, like just having that mentality like really messed me up in a lot of ways, because there were a lot of people that like took advantage of my gifts for their own benefit in more ways than one. And it's just very disappointing that, and it's very like frustrating that people can exist like that. It's frustrating that people can like lie to you right to your face and tell you things and then completely not mean it. And it's never like compliments, it's always like with ambitions and like purpose and all that stuff, all the things that will really get you riled up,
right.
All the things that will really get you like, yeah, man, let's do this. Let's put the time in to make this a thing, because the outcome of this thing feels like it's going to be really, really good. And then all of a sudden, there goes the rug, man, right out from under you. And then you're just left with nothing but the time that you spent trying to do something that you really thought was going to go somewhere. And so what I've learned is to just be careful, be cautious, and protect yourself. Set boundaries. Don't be afraid to say no. And most importantly, take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of the people around you. Keep your faith, and don't give up.
One of my favorite quotes is, you had to secure your own mask before you secure the one next to you.
Yeah, the airplanes.
Yeah, the airplanes all the time. You gotta secure your own face mask before you can secure the one next to you.
Yeah.
Or else you're gonna perish.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's so true. Like, you have to take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself.
And like finding balance in your life is important.
Oh, for sure.
Like that's a big thing that I've learned. I mean, some other mistakes I've made have been just like rushing into things, where I think that something's a really good opportunity musically, and then I jump into it, and then it's like it's not, and that's okay. But just those kinds of things, though, like and above all, like perseverance. That's the key. Like that's like number one. Like persevere, see it through. Don't give up on yourself, because there are people watching you. There are people, whether you know it or not, that are seeing what you're doing on a daily basis and respect your grind. Big time. And you owe it to yourself and to those people to keep doing what you're doing. I guess the biggest mistake you could make is to give up. That's like the biggest mistake you could ever make, is to give up on your dreams and to give up on your purpose and yourself. Yeah, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that, because that will put you in a place in your life that you don't want to be.
You can refocus.
Yeah, sure.
There are times when purposes change.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when stuff goes a different direction. But if you ever give up on yourself, what do you have?
Yeah, right. I said before, if you don't believe in yourself, who's to believe in you, man? Like, you know what, dude? Just have some faith, man. It'll be okay. That's one of the songs I'm going to be releasing later this year. It's called "It'll Be Okay," and it just goes about talking about the changes in our lives and how scary they are, but just to know that it will be okay. Everything will be okay. Things will be okay, and they will turn out just fine. Just have to keep going.
Because if you give up, you're not changing anything.
Right. If you give up, all you're doing is quitting. That doesn't change your circumstance.
Right.
Quitting doesn't. You're just kind of avoiding it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And that's actually another thing too, is like, don't avoid your problems.
Oh no.
Don't avoid your problems. Face them head on. Take care of them and handle them and be honest about them, because every problem that you have that you put off will only get worse. I guarantee.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
It only gets worse, man, because people get frustrated. You're messing with people's emotions. It's just not a good play.
No, there's a lot of issues that people aren't. They view themselves as taboo.
Yeah.
So they just don't deal with it, and that's not how it works.
Right.
If you have a leak in your pipe, you don't just not deal with it.
Right. Exactly.
Unless you get mold, you get your pipes break, you get leaking everywhere, you get water damage. It leads to so many other problems.
Yes.
Then if you had just dealt with that leaky pipe, it wouldn't have caused all of these other issues.
Right, exactly. Like sometimes fixing something small will
save you a lot.
Save you a headache later on.
Absolutely.
So
what is one thing that you know now that you wish you had known when you first started?
I would say the one thing I know now that I wish I knew when I started was to have confidence in myself.
How do you get that?
Confidence is something that can be learned, but I do feel that it's something that a lot of people either have or don't. Like, I feel that you can gain confidence by practicing something enough.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can be confident in something by, okay, I know this. I know this so well that I feel really confident doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But that sort of confidence only takes you so far. Because what if you're put in a situation where you're not well practiced? How do you stay confident in a situation that is a little bit dicey?
Right. How do you keep confidence in yourself in an unfamiliar situation?
Yeah, and that is something that I think you either have or you don't. Like, I have a really, I would say for the most part, that when I'm on stage, if something unplanned happens, I can handle it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not getting nervous, don't like not know what to say. Like, I have like a good, like, I can just handle it, right? Whatever needs to happen. But the only reason that I can do that is because, like, I understand and realize that it's my show. When I'm on stage, I'm in charge.
Yes.
Right? When I'm on stage and I'm performing, you're watching me. I have center stage. So everything that I do, I need to do with confidence and gusto and like excitement. And if I'm not doing that, then it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel off, right? And so confidence a lot of times stems from like just doing it.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, if you think that it's the right move to make, then you do it. And you know what, dude? If you screw up and it's not the right move to make, then you pay for it and you accept it and you talk about it and you acknowledge it and then you move on, right? Like, everybody makes mistakes. Lizzo wrote some really popular song that everybody was giving her crap about because of her lyrics and her writing, right? And so she went through and she fixed it. That's like, you know what I mean? Like, that
Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Yeah, right. This is right. Like if people are overwhelmingly telling you that you screwed up, then like, okay, then take it on the chin and do better. You know, it's okay to like screw up and then have to do better. But I think people are like always feel like they have to be perfect all the time, and that's like super stressful and not a good way to live your life.
Not a good way to live your life. And another thing on that confidence thing is that you have to be decisive.
Yeah.
Learning decisiveness is almost like learning confidence.
Definitely.
Because if you are very decisive, and that takes a lot of skill in of itself to be able to become decisive. Uh, once you have decided on something, you have to follow it through.
Yeah, definitely.
Because even if it ends out wrong, people are gonna acknowledge that, hey, he stood up and did something.
Yes.
He didn't just let it happen to him or her. He didn't let the situation pan out. He took control of it. For better or for worse, he did something to intervene.
Yeah, you have to just do your best sometimes. Like, not every situation is going to be in your control. Not every situation is going to play out the way you need it to play out. But by doing your best, you can
influence things.
Well, you can influence things, but also you learn like what your limitations are.
That's also true.
And so you learn like, okay, well, if this happens again, then I guess I can't do this. I guess I have to do something different or whatever it might be.
Or I gotta call somebody else to deal with it.
Exactly.
So this has been a lot of fun.
Corey, it has been. We've been going for what, like 3 hours now?
It's about 2.5 hours.
Shoo! Nice work.
Yeah. Well, it's really something when you get on a topic, you just keep going.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, as long as the conversation's flowing like wine, man, that's what matters, right?
Right. So I'm curious. Probably maybe last question.
Yeah.
What is the music scene up in Reading like?
The music scene up in Reading is awesome, actually. There's a lot of really amazing bands that play around the area. And the thing I like about the local music scene in Reading is that everybody is so like supportive, and they're very much so like around. Like, I'm still kind of new when it comes to playing out in Reading. Like, even though I've been playing for a long time, I've just starting to get to know a lot of the people that are like really doing music in the area. And I will say that like everybody's super cool and accepting and like supportive. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's what you want. Like, I used to play a lot of shows in a scene that was like very competitive, and I don't like that. Like I like to be enjoying everybody's music no matter what your style is, but like I would always hear bands that were like comparing and and it's like, I don't need that. Like, I don't want that. Like, nobody wants that. It's not, well, and it's not a competition.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not a competition.
It's like, do you see like two artists like put their painting up and then they're like, well, my painting is much better than yours. Like, that's really not what we. That's not what happens.
It should be a good job that you're up there,
right? Like, it's enough that you're just putting your artwork up there for people to enjoy. And so again, about the local scene is what I love is just that they're always like they're super supportive, like they're super nice. When you go to open mics in the area, like people are like super cool about just like hopping up and playing with you and like just being part of it, and like it's just really cool. Yeah, like a
lot like Lancaster.
Yeah, Lancaster's music scene is very similar, and a lot of the musicians from the Reading scene like go back and forth between like Lancaster and Reading. So it's really nice because like I see a lot of familiar faces from the area when I play in Reading, and then when I go to Lancaster, I also see a lot of familiar faces. So it's just it's like a big. I feel like the communities are kind of like starting to merge together, because like our scene is getting like a little bit too big, I think, for like what we're like. There's just a lot of bands there that are playing really well that deserve to be playing at these bigger venues here in Lancaster in the city. You know what I mean? Like they're starting to outgrow like the hole in the wall places that we've been playing for years, and but that's cool. That's natural progression, right? Like those bands lift up and they go elsewhere, and then the new bands come in and take their place, and that's that's the cycle of it. That's the circle of life with music, man. So one has to progress for another one to take its place. And so I just see that. I see like a lot of bands that are really taking off in the area, and I'm really excited to see where they go, and I'm really excited to see what new music comes into the scene. But if definitely if you haven't taken the time to come out and check some of the shows out in the Reading area, dude, I would highly recommend it.
I definitely have not. So
yeah,
I will definitely come out and check some of them out. The only problem is that I work 4 to 8.
That's in
the evening. Yeah, right. So it's like by the time I'm done, like Reading is like a 30-minute drive from like Lancaster, so it's like, am I gonna catch like last 30 minutes?
Well, yeah, it depends. Like a lot of the shows we play that go later, like usually go like 8 to 11.
Oh, really?
Or 9 to 12. Yeah. So if that's
the case.
Yeah. So I would say like, check out the show schedules for some of the areas. I can send you some of the cool places to check out. Just go see what it's all about, man.
Well,
You
yeah,
know? Totally worth it.
Reading is a place I'm familiar with. I was director of Reading City Church for a
Oh,
while there,
wow.
so I have been up in the area, only as far as Penn Avenue.
Right.
But that's about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Penn Ave is a very popular place.
right, exactly. So I definitely want to check out and break out up there because there's I've heard a little bit of the musicians up there. They got something cool going on.
Yes. Oh,
Um,
yes.
So where can people find you and follow you?
So you can check me out on Facebook, facebook.com/JustinFavaMusic. I will be putting up new music later this year. And again, I have a ton of show announcements that I'm going to be making for later this year. So lots of opportunities and chances to come check me out live as well.
What are some of your upcoming shows?
So the first show I have coming up will be actually next month. So I believe we're doing a festival at Shaler Brewing Company. I think it's July 16th. It's a Saturday. But it's going to be an all-day festival at Shaler Brewing Company. That's I think it's right off of Lancaster Pike, actually, if I remember correctly. Like, yeah, 222, I guess.
Oh,
is the
yeah,
road.
okay.
Is that right?
Lincoln Road?
Maybe
Lincoln Highway?
Maybe Lincoln Highway might be the one. That might be the one, actually.
Yeah, I think.
There's like an exit there, and then there's like a restaurant on the left-hand side, like Palos or something like that. But anyway, Shaler Brewing Company, you can check them out on Facebook. They're super great food, super great beer, and they're going to be doing a big festival there. So that'll be our first show. And then and then we're going to be at Tellus on August 6th. That's going to be a later show, playing at 11:45 p.m. But it's going to be during that festival they have going on. Or it might be during or right after. I'm not really sure. So, but that's going to be exciting. Super happy to be playing there. And then we'll be at Rivet Canteen and Assembly in Pottstown. That date is August 19th. And we're going to be playing a show there with a band called 25th Hour. They're super, super good friends of ours. And so we'll be there. And then October 4th, we'll be at Nitro Bar right in Reading, right off of Penn Avenue, actually. So, or is that Penn Avenue?
I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know. I don't think that is. No, maybe that is Penn Avenue. I don't remember. I think it is Penn Avenue. So it is on Penn Avenue. It's Nitro Bar. It actually is an old, like, car factory or something like that, or like a dealership or something. I think it was a factory, actually.
Huh.
Or no. What they used to do, I think it was actually they used to park the cars, like, or something
like
like
elevated
that.
park?
Maybe that's what it was.
Parking?
It's something to do with the old school cars. It's a super cool building. But the music there, that they have bands there every week. Oh, dude, so good. Have to check it out. It's so cool. But we'll be there October 4th. We'll be splitting the bill with another band, maybe 25th Hour. I don't know. We'll see. But it's gonna be a good time.
Cool, man. Well,
yeah,
with all that said, my name is Corey Rose, and you can follow us on the Story podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, The Story, facebook.com/The Story Corey Rosen. That's CORYROSEN. You can follow us on Instagram, _story_podcast. You can, we have a TikTok now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because the marketing, man.
Yeah.
You really got to get in there. And that's something I've got to learn how to do. I've never used TikTok before, actually.
Oh, geez. It's not too bad. It's not any harder than Facebook.
No,
so.
it doesn't seem as hard, but it's just been like, I just don't want to get
Yes. Oh, yeah, the time you have to put into it.
right. But The Story Podcast there. You can follow us on all streaming platforms. The Story, just search The Story with Corey Rosen. That's CORYROSEN. No E in Corey. I know a lot of people make that.
I made that mistake.
No, well, listen, my own high school gave me awards with the wrong name.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I'm like, come on, guys. But you can follow us there. With all that said, this has been The Story Podcast with Corey Rosen and Justin Fava. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to have Leo DeSanto come on. He just got done with his release album party this past weekend, so I'm really excited to talk about him and all of the stuff he does. So if you want to check that out, check it out tomorrow, Monday, 10 o'clock. With all that said, this has been a wonderful time, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. See you guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye. Have a good one.